Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 7:09. We are closing executive session, coming back into open session. With that, we're going to move on to agenda item 4I, consideration and possible action approving the resolution number 2026-3036 for an EDC settlement agreement. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'd like to discuss the approval of the resolution that's in front of you. With us, we have Herman Torres, who is with GL&L. He's the developer. Also, Judge Sebesta, who was overseeing the mediation process, and our attorney, Andrea Chan. So they'll be here to speak. But the EDC board passed unanimously the proposal in front of you. I think it represents a win-win because the original project gets completed, new houses are erected, the street is taken care of, and so I think it's a good deal. Mr. Torres would like to address the council, if you may, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and representatives. Thank you for having me here. I'm the managing member of GL&L Holdings. Just a little FYI, we were the original lenders, or one of the lenders, for the build-out and the construction of those houses on North Avenue M. Obviously, those houses were not built for many reasons that we're not necessarily privy to, and I guess is irrelevant. We were left holding the bag, if you will, if I can use that terminology, and we've been waiting for years to hopefully be able to rebuild those houses. As Mr. Johnson mentioned, I think it's a win-win. We've been working really well with the EDC. We've been doing now 2 years worth of work, not only personal meetings with people from the city, from the EDC, with Zoom, all types of different avenues in trying to come up with a good solution. I think the solution that we've come up with, which includes approved permits, and construction processes that will allow for the 6 houses to be built, will generate revenue for the city, will allow us to eventually recoup some of the money, not all of it, but at the end of the day, we're looking for a win-win and a mutually beneficial relationship with the city so we can maybe come in and build some additional houses, single-family residents in the future. Anyway, at the end of the day, that's kind of what I have. I just wanted to put that out there, kind of hopefully persuade you all to come up with a positive outcome. We're ready and have shown from the get-go that we are interested in building and getting those houses finalized and ready for the residents to come in and obviously inhabit them. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to present Judge Sebesta.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mayor Kane, council members, Dr. Kelly, Mr. Duncan. My name is Pat Sebesta. I was appointed by Judge Gilbert to mediate this matter back in, I think, 2024, August 20th, 2024. The parties came together. We went through the mediation process, all the parties. I was asked to come and speak to you today a little bit about the mediation. I will tell you that one of my requirements before I came and spoke to you today was that all the parties sign a waiver of confidentiality, which they did, and that's why I'm here. All the parties came together, went through the mediation process. Obviously, with litigation, there's risk involved to all the parties. I think all the parties appreciated the risk that they had if this case was going to go to trial. And we came up with a resolution. Not a resolution where we started at the original mediation. We had an original mediation, then we met with city officials, we met with Public Works. I was part of at least 2 of those meetings, and then all the parties came together and worked together in coming up with a settlement in this case. I think the settlement's a good settlement considering the risk involved for all the parties. I think the parties believe that the settlement is a good settlement considering the risk involved. I also think they believe that the settlement is good for the city of Freeport. So I can just say the parties mediated in good faith. They worked really, really hard in trying to reach a resolution to this lawsuit, and I believe that they came together, and after a long time, we were able to reach that resolution. So I'll answer any questions you might have, listen to any comments. If you have any additional questions, even after this meeting, feel free to call me. I'm in the phone book. I'm easy to get a hold of, and I'll be more than happy to visit with you about this.
Thank you. Before we go much further, Mr. Johnson, I have a question for you. Being that this is an EDC project, has the EDC performed the public readings and everything that they are required for us to be able to pass this at this point?
We can do that, but our council advised us that we didn't need to because it's still the same project.
Okay.
And we probably couldn't have had a first and second reading under the confidentiality until it was ready anyway.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Johnson or Judge or I'm sorry, I did not get the other gentleman's name? Mr. Torres. Okay, I'm sorry. A couple questions I have. In the contract, it mentions the roads and the sidewalks. It does not mention anything about curbs.
It's my understanding, when we met with the fire marshal, that was going to be that they were going to recommend or support the recommendation that we proceed with the roads, the asphalt roads, as is outlined in the exhibit to the settlement agreement that does not include curbs. What the street does do is it connects to Rollerson, which would provide additional access. We've met with numerous city officials to try to work out a solution that would be acceptable to everybody.
Okay, so you're saying that in the meetings with fire marshal, they were saying no curbs?
Correct.
Yes. It was done as a cost-saving measure. We wanted to get to the least cost possible. And they agreed to that. They also agreed to the width of the street being less than, I believe, it's 36 feet. But these were all done at meetings that we had with past city managers and various department heads, such as Public Works and Building Inspector.
I appreciate that.
One of the other things is there's only going to be the houses on the one side. There's not going to be anything facing them, so there wasn't that concern.
Okay, well, on is that 4A? 4A of the contract, it says completion of the roadways, curbs, and sidewalks.
That is probably an error.
That's one of the.
It incorporates Exhibit A, and so that was that's the actual plan.
Okay, and I want everybody listening to know that we want new houses built in Freeport, but we got to be responsible. So we're going to take a little bit of time and point out some things that we see.
Can I chime in?
Yes, sir.
In regards to the sidewalks, we have budgeted for the houses and the driveways and the sidewalks along all of those 6 houses that will be built. So those are part of our responsibility and part of our scope of work. In terms of the actual curves, again, it was understood that with the connector to the roller street, because that will be connected, and the full access, those curves were not necessary based on what I understood as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that in the contract?
Yeah, and it says in the contract curves, so we got to get that cleared up. What about drainage? Have we done any studies on drainage? What are we going to do about the drainage?
Done nothing on that.
We haven't done any studies on drainage, no.
Okay, I don't know if it's going to be like the other houses out there where there's just open ditches or what, but I'd like to know how that's going to look. Another thing that was brought up in the original contract, and I'm not trying to compare apples to apples because I know we're far from there. There was the issue with streetlights. Okay, and in this contract, we're not seeing anything about streetlights. Okay, we need to know who's going to pay for new streetlights. A couple more things that were brought up. On the streets, I understand the 50, 25, 25. And for those that have not seen the contract, what the proposal is, the EDC pays for 50% of the streets. One of the developers pays for 25% of the streets. The other developer pays for the other 25%. What it doesn't specify in the contract is who's paying what when.
The estimates for the streets are approximately $80,000, but there's got to be engineering costs which are incurred, but it should not go over $100,000.
And that's total, or that's EDC's part?
The EDC, I'm sorry, yes, that's EDC's part, which they would also pay their part.
Yes, but my concern is, everybody going to get together and just put the money all in a pot at the same time? Or is the EDC going to pay for this portion of the street and Mr. Torres is paying for that portion? How is that going to look?
Yeah, thank you. Our understanding is that we will pay the contractor that has submitted the bids for both ends. We will pay for what we consider or call Avenue M. The roller portion and the connector, as I call it, would be part of the EDC. So at the end of the day, we are responsible fully at the time that the contractor is ready, and I believe it's 50% upon acceptance and then 50% upon completion, and we will take care of Avenue M per those terms.
Okay. Can we have that spelled out in the contract?
We are open in agreement.
We want it spelled out in the contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a history here in Freeport of not putting checks and balances, and at the end of the day, we end up not getting the project that was expected, or we have incurred a lot more expense than expected.
Yes, sir, and when I say we're open in an agreement, I mean we're open in agreement, not just here verbally, but for them to put it in the contract, and we will certainly endorse it and approve it.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
There is a schedule of events on there, but there's no consequences as to if this doesn't happen, what's going to happen. Does that make sense? I'm seeing some blank stares.
Yes, the schedule was the schedule that Dr. Kelly helped us work out, and we can come up with a consequence.
Yeah, and that's another issue that the city has had in the past. We said, don't you do this, but we didn't say or else. And that's something that we need in the contract.
I'd like to chime in there as well.
Yes, sir.
The sequence of events, or what I call the timeline, is very conservative. So we're open to, pretty, let's call them hefty consequences, because we're absolutely very confident that the houses will be built way before that. Dr. Kelly was, whoever put that chronogram, if you will, timeline, was very conservative and graciously flexible. And so we can build those houses way before that, and the contractor has assured us, as far as the street, the same thing. That can even work in parallel. But as far as the consequences, we can certainly come up with, and any suggestions that you guys have, we'll be very glad to accept them. Again, those events, if you will, they're very conservative.
I think one of the key things that we want to try to make sure that we do is to try to get these properties with houses on them complete well in advance of January 1st, 2027, so that they will be on the tax rolls. Because if it goes back to the EDC, then it's exempt property.
And make no mistake, we want new houses, okay? But we also want to protect the city. Council, I know y'all have some questions.
Yeah, let me ask one more item that the mayor missed on the list here. Under 4B and 4C, it says the two lenders respectively, it says that they will complete the development, but nowhere does it say what complete the development means. I'm sure y'all say, oh, we're going to build houses, right? So either say, developer A is going to build houses to certain, the original agreement had certain specification, right? Certain square footage or whatever. So they're going to build houses on lots, these lots, blank, 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 certain square footage of house, whatever, quality of construction, whatever. And unless y'all are talking about complete the development in the original agreement, then y'all would need to include that into the settlement. But otherwise, there needs to be some sort of definition of what complete the development means, right? So I'm sure that y'all were all thinking in the same direction. I just want to make sure whatever's in writing is very specific. Complete the development means you're going to build such and such square foot houses on lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, right?
The scope of work is very specific, and we can certainly provide that. And as a matter of fact, we've already submitted for permits, and we do have permits approved, paid for, and we've started to build 2 houses already as a gesture of goodwill. There's been a stoppage that we received, but those permits have been submitted, or the plans, the architectural engineering, we got electrical, plumbing, all types of permits, but we can certainly put that in the contract.
Right, yeah, just attach that scope of work.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Council?
Would it be agreeable for all parties to start construction on the roads first before we continue construction on the housing?
We are in agreement of doing that, yes.
Okay. Okay.
After it's passed by council.
So,
Councilman Davis.
so we're saying they're gonna start the roads when they get started back again? Because they already started building houses again when they hadn't built any roads over there. So,
Yeah, we received official permits, right? So we were given the green light by the city to start those houses. It's not like we didn't start the houses without the permits. So the
No.
process was followed. If we are in agreement that we can in parallel start working with Avenue M, which is our portion, we can contact the contractor, make the necessary payments to start that process as well. I would like to protect what we've already invested, which is over $100,000, by at least getting the inspection done to be able to wrap those houses. The wood right now is exposed to the environment, and we can't allow that to happen for very long, or else we're gonna have to tear them down again, which we paid for. We cleaned out the streets as a gesture of goodwill to the city, per our meetings with some of the city members and all the people that we met throughout the last basically 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and I see that, but I just don't understand why we would start building houses again when we ain't putting no road in there. I mean, that's kind of why the thing fell apart at the first time. I wasn't here, so that's one of the reasons that, I mean, as a developer, I think you do infrastructure before you start building houses. And I don't
that's
know why,
correct, but
I'm not understanding why.
the city has
Hold on a
not
second,
official,
sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
Let's have one conversation at a
Yeah,
time,
sorry,
please.
sorry.
So I'm trying to figure out, why would we start again? I mean, everybody starts building infrastructure, they build the roads and everything first. Well, we know that was a problem the first time, and then we come back and we start putting up wood again, but no asphalt.
Again, we were not part of the previous ownership, right? So please understand that we did not have to, and we didn't process anything in the past. So you are correct. My understanding is that the city has to award the street project first to the vendor that has submitted the proposals, and we were waiting for that to happen in order to pay and get them started. They've been bugging us about it, and we've been just waiting for it to happen. So as soon as the contractor, the street contractor, can get their award for the proposal, we'll pay for them and they get going. So that can work in parallel. We don't have to wait for the street to work on the houses or vice versa, right? It can work in parallel, and we can make it happen. I mean, the street, it's not a very long street. I mean, it won't take more than, a month to get that done.
Yeah.
Council, any other questions? Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Mr. Torres, Mr. Chan, Mr. Sebesta. Did I miss anybody? Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Johnson.
Any of the other EDC board members here by chance?
Yes.
How many?
There's two.
Two?
Ron Bachman and Dave Lee.
I would have thought the chair would have been here for something this important, but that's okay. This is the meeting we were trying to have over the last year, where it would not have to gone to mediation, because we would have had a chance to actually discuss it with council. And the problem I have is, this is the cart before the farm. It's not even the horse. And I want to make sure that the public understands something. You hear that drumbeat? We want housing, we want housing, we want housing. Make no mistake about it. Well, don't let that fool you into getting into a bad deal. Because this is the thing. I keep hearing, well, this is a good deal, this is a good deal. For who? Because what we just talked about in executive session, it's not a good deal. Not tonight, not 6 months ago, because we had the EDC staff, EDC board, Olson and Olson being evasive, being secretive, being non-cooperative, and unwilling to have the kind of conversation we're trying to have tonight, so that we can piece this together. But here we are fast-tracking, like all that's forgotten. No, because what's all forgotten is actually needs to be brought back to the forefront. And here's the number one question. We have to be making sure that we're doing our housekeeping, because there's one housekeeping question we didn't talk about in executive session, but we did talk about it before, and I think I brought it up even on my podcast, and I'll bring it up again right now. And that is, who owns the property? Legally. Because we're hearing from everybody here at the podium that it's the EDCs, or that it's its developers, and everybody just wants to play kumbaya. But the reality is that Mr. Johnson just made a comment that Olson and Olson made the the legal opinion that the property actually belongs to the EDC, when in fact, it's been maintained since the last 4 or 5 years that the property, and here, even here recently, in the last 3 months, that the property actually has reverted back to the city, and it is legally, bindingly, the city's. Why? Because the project failed and state law requires that now, it doesn't revert back to the EDC, it actually reverts back to the city. So let's sit on that for a half second here, maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Because what does that mean? Well, let's all play kumbaya here at least, and let's make this happen, right? Because we want housing. Well, who's that good for? Well, let me tell you something here. Here's the crux of it all, why we have to do the housekeeping. The housekeeping on this is, if somebody, some kid goes over there and gets injured, or worse, and they sue somebody, who do you think is going to be liable? Is it going to be the developers? Is it going to be the EDC? It's going to be the owners. And who owns it legitimately right now? So any good lawyer will realize, wait a minute, the state law shows that, well, they're out of contract, and so it reverted back to the EDC, it actually reverts back to the city. So yeah, we get to sue the city. And don't forget, our insurance is in question. So that's the number one thing here. You know, we can start talking about.
Councilman, can we try to get an answer with what you've posed already?
Well, the question I have then is, for our city attorney, who does this property belong to by state law? That's my question. I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion that's not an attorney, but I want to hear only the attorneys, but I want to hear it first from our city attorney. That's how I want to play this.
Mr. Duncan.
Okay, so under the original agreement, which the property was transferred to the EDC, and then also under a state statute, it indicates that property provided to the EDC for a project, if the project fails, the property reverts back to the city of Freeport. We have not asserted any right or intervened in litigation. And that's at the, whatever is prudent and considered by the city council. If they want to have the EDC try to work it out, or if the city council wants to assert something, they would have that option. But that has not been the decision up to this point.
May I respond?
Ms. Chan, yes, ma'am.
I want to remind the council that at the time the lawsuit was filed, Mr. Duncan represented the EDC and the city of Freeport. And Mr. Duncan was the one who filed the lawsuit indicating that the property should revert back to the EDC. We have not abandoned that position, and in fact, that's what the judgment says, and the parties agreed that the property will revert back to the EDC as of the original transfer date to Realty World. Mr. Duncan never, in his original lawsuit that was filed to reclaim the property, indicated that it should go back to the city. There's nothing in the deed from the city or from urban renewal to the EDC that indicates that there's a reverter clause. The city had the opportunity to intervene and has had the opportunity to intervene and never did.
The judge is sneaking up over here. I think he wants to put his 2 cents in.
Well, I'd like to hear Mr. Duncan's response to that first.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've asked the judge to come up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well then.
So, Councilman Pena, that's a good question. That is the question of the case, and that is the risk that all sides have going in to the case that Judge Gilbert's going to have to decide, is who owns that property. Does the city own the property? Does the EDC own the property? Do the investors that came in and got the deed of trust, who has the first right? That is the question of the case, and that's why there was a settlement, because everybody appreciated that risk that they had going in to the mediation. Right now, the parties are the EDC, Realty World, and AMG. Those are the parties in the case right now. and that's what we mediated. Now, GLNL came in and was part of the mediation, but it's a good question, because that is the question that Judge Gilbert will be deciding.
And thank you for that response. The real point then becomes the first question, like, where to from here? Well, we got to first know where here is, right? So if we don't know and establish who the owner is, and at this point, you know, we can have one lawyer say one thing or another, but I firmly believe that the strategy was to, let's just get it back, period, because there was too much squirreliness going on, and so it was like, let's just, the easy route was to get it to the EDC, with the option that the city would always reserve its right to assert its ownership on it. But here we are tonight, and I'm thinking, if Judge Gilbert's going to be presiding over this particular case, that's the number one consideration. It has really no matter in what we want to say. If we want to play patty cakes, that means nothing, because legally, the legal judgment has to be from Gilbert first. Is that not right? Like, or here, I'm not sure.
If it's not resolved through a settlement, then you're correct. Then at some point, Judge Gilbert would be making that decision. It can't.
And in the settlement agreement, it settles the issues of title, right?
It does.
So the EDC says, the parties agreed that the reversion went back to the EDC, but the EDC is going to deed the property to the developer or the lenders, and the EDC also says they're going to make sure that there's good title. So if there's any question, then they'll make sure that they get whatever they need from the city to make the settlement go through. So the question is, you know, if the settlement satisfies, you know, all the parties involved, right, and gets a blessing, then that's not a problem. We don't have to go to Judge Gilbert first and get an answer to that question. We can resolve that question through a settlement.
That's correct. And I hope I answered your question,
Yes,
Councilman Pena.
and the thing about it is, the rub of it all is this is the first time we're hearing about all of this material, and that's problematic. That's been problematic in this whole process, is that we haven't had this dialogue that we've been asking for over a year, and instead been having this cat and mouse game with the EDC since Shonda Marshall was on the EDC.
Councilman Pena, with Judge Sebastian here, we were ordered to maintain confidentiality under Texas law.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't discuss it.
Well, I find it rich to hear that particular reasoning or excuse, because we touched on that before on many occasions, Mr. Johnson. And the whole point of it is that it's not even a blurred line, it's a very clear line. And you have the liaison and Jerry Kane, the mayor, to the EDC, who's privy to all of that information in executive session. And so there was an argument had, legalese, all the lawyers are talking about it, that it makes absolute sense that the rest of council should be privy to that same information, so that we can, in fact, be doing our jobs.
I'd have to let one of the attorneys or the judge comment on that, but we were told.
Well,
that it's
I already know what
confidential.
Olson and Olson's position on that, because they were helping along in all the evasiveness, and we weren't getting very clear answers. In fact, the conference calls, and I have those in recording, and I know that the city does too, it was, well, we'll talk about it with the board, and we're not going to really say anything here. So that the very nature of those conversations were very off-putting, and for that matter, discouraging. So that for us to then come over here thinking like, hey, yeah, no, this is all cool and kosher, we're all going to just move forward. I just want to let people know how we even got here. Now, let's assume that we actually are able to mediate and get somewhere so that we know which way we're moving forward. Let me ask a question here. So in that mediation, if it's decided who in fact is the owner legitimately, not because we want to appoint them, how will that work? If through the mediation we say, okay, we're going to let the city be the owner here and dictate things, or we're going to let the EDC be the owner of record, or are we going to be saying, okay, we're going to let the developer be the owner going forward? Because I want to make sure that at the end of the settlement, that it's very clear who's on the hook for any kind of liability.
Okay, so I answered that earlier. The terms of the settlement resolves title, and the EDC agrees that they're going to transfer title to the developer, to the lenders, and that they're going to guarantee title on that. So that's what they will have as far as title insurance questions or questions of title.
Okay.
That you can resolve those. You can resolve those issues by agreement.
Got it.
You don't have to have it resolved by a court order.
Got it. Okay, so great, now we know how the runway works, right? But we still got to make sure if the plane works. And here's the problem with the plane. The original agreement was that the developers got this land for free. And in return, they did the streets and the houses. They were on hook for all of it. So fast forward through a whole bunch of sneaky development, they purposely avoided the street and then started the construction on the homes, ran out of money, and here we are now, 5 years later. 4 of those structures been weathered, 2 of them got torn down. I still have questions as to whether or not the 2 that are still up there, if we're going from the entrance inward, there's 2 that were wrapped, had an exterior skin, and then the 2 that were torn down and just reframed here recently. So there's questions about mold on all of those properties, especially the first 2, and their viability. So I'm being very curious. I'd be very curious to see what building inspections have to say about that in terms of those structures and their viability. But, you know, I want to make sure people understand here. Why we're not in the business of rewarding bad behavior here. So I'm not sure why, as Jerry said here, like, we want to make sure that things get done in order. Number one, we're going to get the streets done first. But yeah, I'm glad we're finally all agreeing to that. That's 5 years later. But the real issue is, who's paying for that? And why are we paying for it now? Why does the EDC think that this is a good idea? Why does the EDC board think this is a good idea, I should say? Because you guys are the ones that are going to vote on this, or already have, thinking that this is a wonderful idea already. This is a terrible idea. If you understand the origins of this agreement, we should never pay a nickel toward this street. We were never on hook. That was the original agreement. And so I've been saying over the last couple of years, like, hey, listen, you put that property out on the market, you're going to get a whole bunch of other developers that'll pay what Realty World originally signed up to do. And so here's the problem, right? It was said by Mr. Torres that they weren't part of the original team. It was the EDC, or excuse me, Realty World, and I forget who the other entity that he had named. But you were the lender. You were the lender for that development. And I don't want the city to have to pick up the pieces for the internal controls that you guys did not have on your builder. That's part of the problem here too. So because the lender did not have internal controls to make sure that their contractor was actually abiding by the contract that they had with the city to build the streets first, the whole thing blew up. And you could say the same thing for the city. The city didn't have the oversight to make sure that whoever's job it was to make sure that the street was built first didn't do their job on the city side either. So there's a little blame to be going around here too for the city side.
So can I interject?
Yes.
So the only thing that I can respond to, because we didn't lend on the street and that was never part of our loan documentation, is that every inspection that was done by the city and by our own inspectors passed, and we released the funds up until the job got closed.
Yeah.
And the job got closed and we stopped making any reimbursements. So our internal measurements have and always would been totally on par with what is required. We've been in this business now 20 years, Better Business Bureau, yada, yada, yada. So the records that we bring to the table is immaculate. The reason that job didn't get any more funding is because the city stopped the work from proceeding, and we were not going to release any more funds at that point in time. And it had something to do with the streets, which we did not control and never loaned on.
Well,
it was, and so anyway, I'm just making a comment about that protocol.
I understand. And let me be clear on a couple of things here. My background is to underwrite loans, so I understand this pretty well, to understand this particular point, that if you're looking at a construction loan,
I'm sorry, say it again?
if we're looking at a construction loan, in which case you guys were,
Yes.
right? You're also looking at the contract agreement with the city, if there is in fact one involved. And in that particular agreement, it spells out clearly that, now, don't get me wrong, well, let me just say my point, let me make my point, that the street should have been done first. And instead, it wasn't. And so, no, it wasn't immaculate, I'm sorry. There wasn't proper oversight on the lending side to make sure that that control happened, you know? I get it. People get, how everybody wants to operate their business is their thing. But the city also dropped the ball, in all fairness. But what we have, though, is still the problem. And the solution going forward is not that the city should be on hook for that problem. We didn't create that problem. We didn't agree to that problem. We didn't agree to do the streets. And I don't know why we're doing a 50, 25, 25, because that brings up other questions like who's on the hook. But the first question I had even way back when was, and I'm going to tell you, I've told this story before on open record here, Realty World got this deal as a backroom deal, literally a backroom deal on the second floor of the old City Hall building. I was there. I'll tell you that whole story at another time, but I can tell you right now, there was no due diligence on it, and we this deal got fast-tracked. I was told to hush, hush, don't ask too many questions by the former city manager, Tim Kelty, and Brooks Bass was there too, and Troy Brimage was there too, and for some reason, they thought that this just had to get pushed forward. And the wink was that on the 19 acres on Skinner Street was going to be given to them, and none of that was written, but it was all verbalized there. So when we talk about, hey, why are we here? How did these problems get started? It's because the fast tracking and the lack of oversight by the city was because it started at the top. So yeah, people were wanting to have housing for Freeport, but they were so desperate, they were looking the other way. They were so desperate to get housing, they forgot to do their damn jobs. And so this is the problem we have now, is that how do we fix it from here? Well, we certainly don't fix it by putting the city on the hook when they were never supposed to be on the hook in the first place.
Ms. Shan?
May I comment?
Sure, please.
I think that one of the things that's constantly become a problem or a confusion point is the frequent interchange of the city and the EDC. You kept referring to the city being on the hook. And in reading the original development agreement, the city itself, City of Freeport itself, as the city is not party to that contract, it was the EDC. And I will represent to you that Olson & Olson was not involved at all, and you'll agree with us that when this development plan was entered into, Mr. Duncan was representing both the city and the EDC.
Well, for the record,
And-
even after, when Duncan was terminated in 2022, thereafter, we had.
Councilman, let Ms. Chan finish, please.
No, I was just going to state that.
Let Ms. Chan.
The agreement.
Let Ms. Chan finish.
Go ahead, Ms.
please.
Shan, I'm sorry.
And exactly, that's one of the issues, was the agreement. There was nothing in the original agreement that the road had to be finished first. You know, and I see we learn from our mistakes, and we realize that maybe that's something we need to address. And we thank you for bringing that up, because we want to make this as foolproof. We want to protect everybody that's involved.
Right.
And-
And we're not, we're not here to litigate, we're here to try to settle, right?
Exactly.
But,
And-
but that, actually, there's a lot of misconception about the road first and so forth, but I think the primary reason was that there were deadlines to complete the project, and 3 extensions given, and this project was still not completed, and 3 times they signed, Realty World signed agreement saying, we didn't finish in time, we breached the contract, y'all are not waiving any of your rights, please just give us more time to finish. And that was the main reason that the thing didn't happen, because Realty World took the money from the lenders and I guess didn't spend it to build the houses because they didn't finish in the deadline time, and it was extended, like I said, 3 times. So that was the main breach of the contract, was they started the project and they just never finished it. And then eventually, not the EDC, but the city did a stop work order. So the stop work order did not stop it. They breached the contract before that, and if y'all had reviewed the contract and saw that they'd already long passed the deadline to comply with the contract. So that's the I think probably the primary reason, not necessarily the road or the house or whatever.
So, thank you. In my summary of what I'm hearing, and I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that we're not here to litigate. Obviously, I'm not an attorney.
Right.
We understood that there was a settlement. We've already followed all the steps in terms of getting the construction permits, right? We submitted plans, architectural engineering, everything. We are willing to pave and do the street first. I'm here representing that.
Okay.
We've already invested over $100,000 again. Two houses are, you know.
Which, you really shouldn't have done it without an agreement. I don't know why in the world you always start spending money without an
That's-
agreement, but.
Hindsight
you
is
know.
20/20, and I totally
Well,
agree.
hopefully we have agreement now. Hopefully we'll work it out.
And so we're willing to put the money for Avenue M, our portion, what we agreed to, which was the street originally planned. We are going to pay for it, not the EDC, not the city of Freeport. And if we're in agreement that the city needs to be, that the street needs to be built first before we can continue, the only thing that I would ask is that we'll be allowed to wrap the houses just to protect the wood. But we'll finish the street, so there is no contention, there is no, I think, argument at all. We'll finish the street and then move on to the houses. Hopefully with the agreement and your support that we can wrap the houses and support the money that's already on the ground. Furthermore, we've already started on 2 other houses, right? The foundations have been poured with construction permits and everything. So we have 4 additional houses to the 2 that Mr. Peña is saying that could potentially be full of mold. I don't know that. Those are not our properties. I know inspections were done, and the city inspectors passed, but I can't speak to that. I'm not privy to any of that, except we've been talking to the other lender, obviously, and we're trying just to finish those houses. And if we're allowed to continue building in the future, we'll love to generate a win-win relationship. But we understand that this is the first thing we need to finish. Credibility has to be reestablished, and we're willing to work within the timeline that Dr. Kelly put forth. Let's come up with the consequences. I'm not opposed to that. As a matter of fact, this is totally fine. We'll be done with those houses this year, in 6 months, if we're allowed to continue without any stoppage.
I have a couple of questions still, Mayor.
Go ahead.
That's good.
Mr. Torres, I appreciate your sentiment to be cooperative and proactive, and for that matter, assuming the full cost of the street, if I understood you correctly. And that's great. Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, if we can make something work here, that's great. But I want to make sure that we're clear on what those provisions are. You know, what has never happened is there has never been provided any proof of financing. So I'm curious, is this going to be cash funded or lender funded?
We are the lender.
Okay.
And we are the developer, and we have hired the builder, and they've already been paid for what has been built. You guys come up with what you need to make this move forward. Proof of funds. I mean, that.
You're the first
just give
person-
us the guidelines so we don't have to delay this any further. It's not helping you all.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not helping us. And I can tell you that if we finish this, gain the credibility and work with you all, there's plenty of other spaces where we can build the same type of houses, and it's gonna be a win-win. But we have to move forward, and I plead that you guys give us the guidelines and we'll abide by that.
Well, credit to you, you're the first person from anybody on the Realty World side.
I'm not with Realty World.
Well, on the lending side even, for this particular property on Skinner, that's ever actually said proactively, yes, I'll get the financing or proof of funds made available to us. So I'd like to see those before the end of this week, if we can, get those to the Johnson and back to us. But the second issue I have here is that, yeah, I'm glad we're singing a little more kumbaya on the streets. However, I'm really concerned about drainage because we have a flooding problem when it rains. And so I'm just curious, you know, we have these requirements for drainage for any single home on a single lot. Was there ever any drainage study ever made for this particular development? Because I don't think that there has been, and the last thing we want to do is put in a street that has no feasible drainage that is not part of an engineering study that actually fits both our infrastructure and the flooding, demands that we have.
The engineering of the street has been on hold while this is being litigated or disputed or mitigated. And I understand that that will include drainage per the code. We have a standing agreement with the contractor that we will pay for the engineering studies that can be submitted to the city for approval, as long as, we get total understanding of what's needed and hopefully an agreement that we can stand on and not like Mr. Duncan mentioned, continue to invest money that we shouldn't have been investing in the first place.
Right. It was done prematurely, but certainly the intention was, was a good one, I'm sure. But my question becomes for Ms. Kelly is, your group comes forward with engineering plans for drainage, does their own drainage study. Who do we have on our staff, or where do we go so that the city understands that we actually analyze and review? I imagine it goes to our team of engineers to verify that that drainage study is actually legitimate?
Yes, it would go to the
Or do we do it
building.
ourselves and bill it to them?
Yes, that's my typical way that I operate.
What is that? Which way?
That's the typical way that I operate. They would have a deposit that they would put on file with the city that we could draw from for engineering reviews.
For
To
us?
peer study their
Okay.
reports, yes.
Their peer reports, or is it just on us, our engineers to study?
No, they would submit their reports, and then we would have a peer review with our engineers.
I got you.
Yes.
Well, that's great, because that's what needs to be done. I mean, it's not rocket science. We just got to make sure that we're watching where the money goes and how this project is being handled and managed. And so, again, everybody, this is the first time we're actually having a legitimate conversation. And so, thank you for coming out. But it's painful that it took almost over 3 years for this to happen. It's sad, because we could have saved you guys a lot of money. We probably would have houses back then.
I agree.
It is my understanding that it took getting to this point in the mediation in order for us to have this conversation.
Well, the last.
Judge, is that correct?
The
Thank you,
last
sir.
item I have on this is that the comment about the scope of work and the curbs, the original agreement had the curbs in there. So when we start talking about cost-saving measures, as a cost-saving measure that we were not going to put in the curbs, I mean, I can tell you for me, I want to make sure that we are going back to, because I remember the conversations back there, you were not there, part of it, but it was like, hey, we want to make sure that we have the concrete streets, that they look like the streets of Lake Jackson. And they gave pictures of the development projects in Lake Jackson, and they brought them over, and they were saying, yes, we'll make them just like that, all nice and pretty, like a brand-new subdivision. And so that's when everybody said, hallelujah, let's go. And then I asked, well, can we at least get some proof of funds, some financing? Never received it. And that was back in 2018. And that was a total greenhorn, just a, first time on the EDC, just asking basic lender questions. So I just want to make sure, are we going to get the curbs on that too?
I can't speak to that. I don't know what the costs are. We met with Public Works, with the fire marshal, with a whole bunch of different people. We submitted variances, and we have verbal agreements from heads of departments that the streets were going to meet the minimum required.
They weren't privy to the contract. That's the problem. They were doing their jobs, is about, inspecting, so I don't want to berate them, but what needs to happen first is that, at the top, we need to make sure that this contract is sound, legitimate, and good for Freeport. I mean,
What contract are you alluding to? I'm sorry.
this agreement that we're.
Oh, the one that,
Yeah.
okay, because you're saying 2018, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm getting.
No, I'm just talking about whatever we are looking to get mediated and for that matter, corrected and fixed and amended, that it includes those curbs. I just don't think that we should be asking for less than what we had originally planned on. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Starks, I just want to say thank you for your cooperation, your understanding. You're willing to, want to work with Freeport and get this project done. I mean, I think we're on the right step, going in the right direction now. All of this negotiation, I mean, some of this should have already been done. I mean, easy stuff like drainage and roads and all of that. But all of it, I think, we have Dr. Kelly now, and she's very experienced in development and things like that, which, Mr. Johnson and all y'all put your heads together and just get it on paper and then move forward. And like I said, you already spent this money, and we don't want you to waste any more money, because then y'all just be in another lawsuit, a bigger lawsuit maybe, But we want to get this project done, but it seemed like you really agree that some of this stuff could have been done, or you're okay with it being done, as far as putting it in writing in the contract, and so you can move forward, and y'all can go ahead and get this project started and finished. And so I appreciate that, your willingness to, work with us and understand that when we want to get it in a contract. I mean, if you run a business, and when you lending out your money, you looking at that contract, and you filling that contract out, and you dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and calling your penalty shots if you don't pay me back, or you don't at this time, I'm gonna put some interest on you, or something like that. I mean, you're a businessman. So I see it, and I think you the man for the job. But let's just get it on the contract, and you already said you were willing to do all of that, and hey, let's just get it started. Dr. Kelly, I think y'all need to sit down and we go over them couple of tweaks that we talked about, and you'd be good to go, brother.
So yeah, I just need direction on meeting with Dr. Kelly. We'll bring our team and figure it out. I mean, it doesn't, this is not, Mr. Pena mentioned it, it's not rocket science. This is,
Right.
We're talking about a short street with 6 houses.
Right, yeah. So what's the date? Tuesday?
Yeah.
What's the day, Tuesday? What's the day, you open Wednesday? Let's get him in that Wednesday.
Well, virtual meetings now expedite the whole process, right? So, Dr. Kelly, I'm open, and so is my team.
We'll contact you tomorrow to set up a mutually agreeable time. Thank you.
I agree, thank you.
Council, do we have anything on this side? Councilman Rosso?
So, Mr. Torres, thank you for being forthright with every question that you've been asked and your answers. Ms. Chan, thank you also. And Judge Sebesta, appreciate your candor with everything, explaining the mediation process to us, making sure that, hey, we understand that, hey, things cannot be said until you come to an agreement and then get that waiving. I just want to make clear that the agreement still is, G&L is, and if I butchered that, I apologize,
That's fine,
Mr.
no
Torres.
worries, no worries.
Y'all are paying for Avenue M. The EDC will be paying to go and connect to Roller, which is the difference now was, as the original agreement didn't have that. That's correct. And I see heads shaking. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That way it's out there in the public. I appreciate that. Thank y'all. Y'all have a safe drive.
Thank you.
Mayor, I didn't understand that street connection. What does that mean? That Madam Morris just described, what did that mean?
The road, instead of being a cul-de-sac like originally, is going to go down, curve over to the left and connect.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I think the reason for that was when we talked to the fire marshal, is the reason they decided to connect those 2 roads, his concern, about getting equipment down there and getting them turned around, so.
Yep, you are correct. I would like to say thank all of y'all. This has been an ordeal, and I think we are, at this point, this close to it being a win-win for everybody. And thank you for your hard work. I would like clarification, and it doesn't have to come tonight. The attorneys can battle it out. They can get Judge Sebesta involved. Is this the same project or is it a new project? Because if it is a new project, we have to have open meetings. If it's the same project, then we may not. Okay, so we need clarification to make sure that once we decide to go ahead and go through it, we're going to be able to go through with it. Okay, so.
Mayor, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Who are we going to, let me ask the attorney, I should ask, or for that matter, our city manager, who makes that decision as to whether or not this is a new project or an old project? Can we get an answer from Ms. Kelly first?
I would believe that would be the EDC's attorney would determine whether or not it qualifies as a project, new or old.
What's our attorney have to say about that? Same?
Well, ultimately, the city council has to vote and approve, right? So it's both organizations, right? And the attorneys for both organizations. You know, I will say that if you look at the law on the EDC projects, you're required to go through, have a public hearing and get approval because you're going to spend money. And the citizens, when they find out how much money you're going to spend, you can't spend money for 60 days. And they have the option to try to call election to stop the project based on how much money is spent. In the original project, the EDC is spending zero money. In this project, the EDC is spending money. So you have to have the opportunity for the voters to say, hey, you can't spend the money for 60 days. We have the opportunity to stop. Now, if you say, well, we can do a project with zero money, and then we'll just amend it and make $1 million project, and the voters never have a chance, well, that obviously is not following the law, right? The law is there because the voters get to have a say that before the EDC can spend money, they have the opportunity to petition and request an election. So I would say it does not make sense to start a project with $0 and then to do a new project with $10 million or $100 or however many dollars. And that would be a cheap way to get past the voters. I don't think the legislature intended people to sneak it through and rob the voters of the opportunity to challenge the expense of incurred by the EDC.
I do want to add one other thing to what Mr. Duncan said, and I will admit that I am not an EDC specialist. We have other people who handle that. I am the litigator, and this settlement is part of a litigation settlement. We are trying to resolve a lawsuit, and it's not just in the umbrella of an EDC project.
Yeah,
And
which,
I think Judge Sylvester.
I agree. It's part of the, so.
yeah, please come to the mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It is part of a settlement of a pending litigation. So, Mr. Duncan, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. I'm not an EDC specialist either. I am a litigation specialist, though, and I know that this is a settlement that the parties entered into understanding the risk that both sides have if it has to get decided by a judge. And it goes back to Councilman Pena's original question is, who owns it? And that's what Judge Gilbert will be making the decision. And I think that's why the parties decided to work. And I will say this with these parties, not just Mr. Torres, but also AMG, the EDC, they have been great to work with. They are looking forward to trying to resolve this matter where it is a win-win for everybody. And we understand your concerns with what Dr. Kelly's going to talk to Mr. Torres and AMG about. I understand your concern about making sure that there's financing, not only with GL and L, but also with AMG. I think we can get that for you. So whether it's a new project or it's an old project or what, I know this. I know it's litigation that the judge is going to have to make a decision on, and there's risks that come with that. And I'm not going to sit here and try to Nostradamus what Judge Gilbert's going to decide.
Right.
Ever. But I am going to get with these folks and work real hard about trying to get a settlement to some pending litigation where there's risk on all sides.
Well, and just a point of clarification, I'm not taking a side, right? I mean, I think that y'all came to the council to approve the agreement, presenting as a project, they approved the agreement. I mean, it's literally, it's just what's the procedural difference, right? And I think that if it's a deal that the city council thinks is good for the city, they'll all vote. You know, I have a feeling from the folks sitting up here that, you know, they probably leaning toward voting to approve it, right? So it's not, the question of is it a new project or not a new project. Either way, the city council is going to vote, right? And
Yes,
y'all
sir.
are here to have the city council approve it. Are they approving it as settlement or as a new project? The end result's the same, right? So.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
I don't feel like council is ready to vote and approve it right now as we speak. I think there's just a few minor tweaks that we need to try to work out. So hopefully, that process can start tomorrow, and we can get this back on the next agenda.
To make a motion to table?
Yes, we'll make a motion table in just a second. I have a question for council that we can't vote upon, but we can get a answer if they approve or disapprove one at a time. Mr. Torres had asked if he could at least wrap the houses to protect what he has already invested.
I think that's fair.
Councilman Pena thinks it's fair.
So long as we can establish that the first two are not already unviable because of mold,
Code will have to,
yeah. Because if,
yeah,
and
the
that
building
requires, that's
inspector
going
would
to
have to
require
take a
some,
look at that.
well, let me be clear, you can eyeball it, but you need to have testing.
Yep.
And testing does not lie. Because when you look at a wall and you don't see it, you don't know what's behind the wall.
So
Yeah.
those are not,
Yep. Yeah,
And if those are not his houses.
that is
then
correct.
If those are not, since those are not his houses, what are we doing with those first two houses?
Well, he who owns those houses will have to,
Yeah, the question is, the houses that he just put money in, will the council be okay and cool with him wrapping them to protect that?
Which
That's
is
the-
house 3 and 4, but houses 1 and 2
We're not even
can't be
discussing
touched.
those.
Right, and I'm just wondering, who's a developer, who owns those at this point? Or
That'll
who's
be-
involved?
That'll be part of the ultimate settlement agreement. We're not talking, they haven't come and asked. The question is, just asked, can he wrap those houses that he's done?
Well, the question was whether, in my mind, which ones were they? And then now we've established it's house 3 and 4. My question still remains, what's going to happen with houses 1 and 2?
they will have to meet code,
Okay.
in a nutshell.
Well, what I hope not to have happen is that we build the street, Mr. Torres and his group finishes house 3, 4, 5, and 6? Is that right? You're on the hook for 3, 4, 5, and 6? And then 1 and 2 are sitting out there dilapidated. So I'm just curious.
Mr. Pena,
That'll be,
I will never assume that I can speak for anybody, but I have gotten to know the group from AMG. We've been working hand in hand for over 3 years. I can 90%, again, I can't say 100%, but Mr. Michael Hoberman will do what's right, will abide by code. He unfortunately was traveling, could not meet me here tonight. But again, I've known him for 3 years now, meeting with the EDC and, by ourselves talking about this project. So he absolutely will be totally okay, considering that he knows he has to meet code. He and I will be splitting the cost of Avenue M. So we got that covered. The proof of funds will be provided to you guys by this coming Friday. You just tell me, how we do that, emails. At the end of the day, those are easy steps to make or to take. But yeah, I would love the 2 houses that we've already started to at least be wrapped to protect it against the environment.
Councilman Davis,
Oh, yeah, sure. I agree.
Councilman Rosso, you got a thumbs up. Councilman Matamoros,
I agree.
and I agree as well. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make a motion that we table this item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Matamoros. Any more discussion? I hope not. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all the hard work in this. All right, since we have Robert still here, Robert, we're going to try to let you go home for the evening. Agenda item 4L, discussion and take possible action to recommend a change of legal counsel to the Freeport Economic Development Corporation. Councilman Pena.
Yeah, this was put on the agenda because of the problems we had with this particular litigation. And for that matter, the additional problems that we had with Olson and Olson as a city. And back in June of 2025, which was about 7 months ago, what's today's date? The 17th. Seven months ago in 6 days, that Olson and Olson was terminated from representing the city for a variety of reasons, the least of which were documented misinformation, documented cover-ups, documented, for lack of a better word, lies. It was a unanimous vote. And then since then, we've been trying to have meetings and discussions about these agreements that the EDC has been a part of, and even prior to, and I know that Councilman Davis can attest to that, that there's been very poor communication, exorbitant billing, high bills, and because of those reasons, I put this on the agenda to make sure that, though the EDC board is the one that is going to have to make that decision, it's the city council who is, I put this on the agenda to make the recommendation that the EDC replace their legal representation from Olson and Olson. And just as a reminder that, you know, we would like to see this happen sooner than later. And we really do hope that the board members comply with the council's wishes. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Well,
Because
yes,
I don't think
ma'am.
I can make a motion at this point of any sort. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
I don't think I can make any kind of
That's
motion.
up
Am
to
I
you.
allowed to?
I mean,
Elizabeth?
if,
Can I make one
yes,
statement?
ma'am.
I understand Mr. Pena does not feel that he has confidence in our law firm Olson and Olson, but I do have a request. There's one lawsuit where I am still representing the city of Freeport, and it's the lawsuit that Mr. Duncan filed on behalf of Mr. Pena against the city of Freeport, and I've been trying to give it to somebody else because we no longer represent the city of Freeport, but I can't transfer the case back to Mr. Duncan like I did all the other cases that I was representing the city of Freeport on. And so I'm not really sure what to do at this stage. And Mr. Pena has already indicated that he doesn't have confidence in our law firm, but I have not received any guidance on what to do with that lawsuit.
Okay, so, Mr. Duncan, you get with her on how we're going to transfer, who it's going to be transferred to?
Correct. That's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay. All right, well, council, any other questions on this, comments?
Yeah, my question is, are we allowed to make a motion to direct that? If I want to make sure that the council can be on record to formally request that Olson and Olson be removed from the EDC, what does that look like?
Ultimately, the EDC has the authority to hire whatever attorneys they want and keep whoever they want as their attorney, whoever they have confidence in, right? So it's not really necessarily a question for the city or city council. If you want to make a, I guess a symbolic motion, you can. It would not have any legal effect, right? So if you want to say, hey, I want to make a motion that, I'm unhappy, the council's unhappy, see how many votes you get, right? You can, but it would not really have any legal effect because this EDC is a separate nonprofit entity and they have the authority to hire and retain whoever they wish to hire and retain.
Councilman Davis, do you have anything to add? Councilman Rosso?
No.
Councilman Matamoros?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
again, this is another waste of time, because there's qualified individuals on the Freeport Economic Development Corporation who have done their due diligence to make sure that everything that is being done is above board and proper. This is just another vendetta because someone doesn't like someone else. When legal counsel was changed from the Duncan Law Firm as the EDC attorney to Olson & Olson, there was a extensive search. And Olson & Olson was one of the most qualified in that group. And so here we are wasting more time for something because one person just doesn't like a law firm. We've seen tonight with Ms. Chan and her opinions be sound. And so honestly, I'm going to end it with this. Mr. Johnson, you and your board continue doing the good work for our city. I appreciate y'all's independent thinking. There are a lot of qualified individuals on that board who can think for themselves, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me rebut a couple of things first. Number one, the council already voted. It's not my opinion alone. The council already voted 4-0 to fire Olson & Olson back in June. Councilman from Ward C was not present. It wouldn't have mattered. It would have been a 4-1 vote if he had been here, or maybe he would have just acquiesced and just stayed silent like he does on other votes. But let me just say this. When we talk about the expertise and the qualifications, Ms. Chan just even said herself, I'm not an EDC specialist, so don't say that these are experts in the matter. I want to repeat, Olson & Olson actually, and I jogged my memory a little bit here, lied under oath. And were found to lie under oath. And that dishonesty was just like the tip of the iceberg, over the top component there for the decision, because then we were already getting non-answers. You remember when the chief of police was suspended, we asked Olson & Olson, hey, where's the evidence? For 2 months, we asked for the evidence, for 2 months. And you know who covered it up? Jerry Kane and George Matamoros, hiding behind Olson & Olson's legal opinion. And what was the legal opinion? No answer. So it was that whole cat and mouse situation that really added to the lack of trust. But then you get the line under oath, but then you get the inflated billing. Olson & Olson was never interested in trying to defend the city. Olson & Olson was always interested in inflating their bills. And well, let's just go through mitigation, or let's just go ahead and try to talk this all out. Meanwhile, the bills are racking up. That's why we moved to terminate them. On top of that, every time we kept asking for questions and any kind of responses on any of the resolutions or any of the litigation, we had very, very slow response. And we're getting the same thing now when we're asking the EDC for the legal responses as it relates to these lawsuits. For the first time in 3 years, I'm hearing tonight that this is being mitigated, or not mitigated, excuse me, mediated by Judge Sebesta. So it's like, if that's not the example of just like the cat and mouse with the city, that's the problem, is that you have the EDC whose board members are playing political games at the behest of possibly George and Jerry, because they're also not coming forward with the information, and hiding behind the attorneys to say, hey, can we do this? Because that's the exact same game that Olson & Olson was playing when they were the attorney for the city. Just ask the chief when we were, or just ask any of the councilmen. We couldn't get a single answer. We couldn't get a straight answer from Olson & Olson for those 2 months while the chief of police was inappropriately suspended, if not illegally suspended, would not give us any information, nothing. We kept asking, what are you basing this on? Crickets. So you want to talk about competency, trustworthiness? Absolutely not. And if you're going to sit here and try to tell me that they are competent and that they are trustworthy and that they are honest, you live in another imaginary world, man. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, we'll see about
So
that.
I'll make a motion that the city of Freeport advises the EDC to terminate and seek a new law firm to represent the city's EDC, because don't make no mistake about it, the EDC's money is the taxpayers' money.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilman Pena for the EDC for the council to advise EDC to terminate the contract with Olson and Olson. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Now, since I didn't have an opportunity to say anything, I would like to say Ms. Chan is not the EDC attorney, okay? Because she is the attorney involved in the litigation, which is what we've been discussing tonight. When we fired Olson and Olson, in my opinion, it was not because of the entire organization, but instead of the person that, it was because of the person that was sitting right here. Okay? EDC is their own board. They can make their own decision. There was a time, some time ago, that City Council fired Chris Duncan, who was also the attorney on the EDC. Okay? And he remained the attorney on the EDC for some time. And it so happens that council may have lost trust in him, but the EDC didn't. I trust the folks on the EDC to do the right thing for the city. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for what you do. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd just like to one point of clarification. I want to emphasize that we have not been deliberately stonewalling. As you heard Judge Sebesta say tonight, we were bound by confidentiality agreements.
If I'm not mistaken, that's the third time I've heard, in third different meeting that I've heard that you have been bound by confidentiality. You are correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to the fun stuff. Agenda item 4A, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2026-3033, adding section 9.21 to the personal policy manual. Dr. Kelly.
Yes, thank you. Staff recommends adoption of Section 9.21 of the Personnel Policy Manual establishing step-up pay for certified public safety employees temporarily assigned to perform the full range of duties of a higher classified position. Section 9.21 applies exclusively to employees in certified public safety classifications who are temporarily assigned to perform the full scope of responsibilities of a higher classified position on a short-term basis. When such assignments occur due to an absence or vacancy, the employee will be compensated at 2 steps above their regular rate of pay or a minimum of 5% for the duration of the assignment. This policy clarifies that step-up assignments are temporary in nature and do not constitute a promotion, nor are they subject to the city's formal promotion process outlined in Section 3.08. The policy ensures fair compensation while preserving management flexibility and maintaining compliance with established promotion procedures. You'll see your next agenda item is very similar, but it applies to all other employees. We've recently had occasion where department heads have left or been terminated, and a lower level employee has stepped into that position, and there's no codified way to pay them. It has been my experience previously that if the pay scales overlap, that you would put them at least 5% above what they are now if they're in the range of the other pay scale. If they don't overlap, you would put them at the lowest rank in the higher pay scale. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is just for classified employees, so it would be 2 steps or at least 5% increase in pay while they do those temporary duties.
And I have one question before I ask for a motion. Short-term basis, that does not mean covering a week's vacation. I think that would mean if there's a vacancy and the person steps up in that position.
It could cover it. Let's say they take a 2-week vacation and they are responsible for all of the duties in that higher classification. They would get that pay increase for the 2 weeks.
Okay. I would just like to see and it may be in there, it's been a minute since I read this, but I would like a description of what short-term basis
Yes, sir.
actually means. Other than that, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I entertain a motion, I'll make a motion to table it until that's clarified. I have questions on that as well, what that term means. Is it going to be where somebody, well, let me just say that's my motion.
Hold on, yeah, we have a motion to table by Councilman Pena. Is there a second? I will second it.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could,
Yes, sir.
since there's a second for discussion, I just want to make sure and point out that there is a very specific provision in the civil service statute that covers this exactly, about temporary officers or emergency personnel, public safety personnel filling in a position. In Chapter 143, there's a specific statute that talks about this. And so I think the council needs to be aware of that. That would be either the province of the Civil Service Commission to keep that statute or make a variance. But I don't know that I would advise, I guess, number one, it's probably better left to the Civil Service Commission since it's already something specific in the Civil Service Code. Or if y'all do want to pass this, you need to, I guess, be aware that the Civil Service will preempt that. So if Civil Service Commission says, well, we don't like that rule that the council passed, we want to follow the statute, then the Civil Service Commission can adopt that provision. So if you pass this provision, the civil service has province over that. They could undo what y'all do or make a different decision.
Thank you for that.
And I can present a copy of that statute to y'all so y'all can compare and contrast if y'all come back to it at a later council meeting.
Yeah. Personally, my only question is, what is the definition of short-term basis? Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah. And when they go back to their position, then you take the money back?
Correct.
Yeah, this is in lieu of giving them a raise for doing it that's permanent. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we will call the vote. All those in favor to table, state aye. Aye. All opposed, state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4B, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2026-3034, adding section 9.22 to the Personnel Policy Manual. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. This is very similar to the previous one, but it is for at-will employees. Section 9.22 applies to at-will positions that are vacant and require approval by both the department head and city manager. Interim pay may be provided when an employee is temporarily assigned to perform the full scope of responsibilities of a higher classified position for more than 30 days due to an extended absence or vacancy. This provision does not apply to positions that automatically assume the duties of higher classification as part of their job description. Eligible employees may receive an increase in pay of up to 5% or the minimum of the salary range for the higher classified position, whichever is applicable, for the duration of the interim assignment. Temporary interim assignments under this section are expressly not subject to the city's formal promotion policy outlined in Section 3.08.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to table.
Motion to table by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion on this? Personally, I'm okay with it, and I appreciate the fact that it says 30 days or more. So, any other questions or comments?
I just wanted, the situation with the one previously does not apply at all to this one. So there's no other statute related to this one. So I just want to make sure that the council's not confused, that there is a distinction between the civil service and then the at-will employees. So, I don't have the same, the situation is not the same between the two issues, 5A and 4A and 4B.
Yeah, so this is more along the lines of if you lose a public works director and someone steps in as the interim public works director, he or she has there's an outline as to how he is going to get paid for while he is in that position. He or she is in that position.
Yeah, but the question remains, you have a 30-day timetable where it wasn't really clarified in 4A, but in 4B it's 30 days. But the reality is that I'm not sure that timetable language is appropriate, that contemplates all the variables that will be faced, in particular, the time that it's going to take to actually replace the higher position through a recruiting process. And so I'm just curious how we're going to address those timetables. And that's why I tabled it.
I really did not understand what
I'm saying that it's limited to 30 days, but if we're trying to replace that person at the higher level that this person is subbing for, then it may take more than 30 days. And so I'm just wondering what the provision is for that.
It says 30 days or more.
Yeah, the more is problematic. It needs to be buttoned up because we don't want to have somebody just where the city staff is like, well, we're not going to fill that position in, and this other person just is riding on coattails of a higher salary when we haven't forced the issue to require the city to actually hire the replacement that is appropriately qualified.
Okay?
Is that clear?
No, I
You
mean,
still don't get it?
It is clear, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because you're forcing the city to fill that position in this time slot where it could theoretically take this time slot to have it filled.
That's my whole point.
Then you could theoretically be forcing them to put someone in that position that is less qualified than someone that could have gotten the position if you left the, absolutely.
No, just the opposite.
No.
Your rationale is upside down. Let me explain it again one more time.
All right.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So if I added the language assigned to perform the full scope of responsibilities of a higher classified position for 30 days or more while the city recruits for that position,
Yeah,
would that be acceptable?
yeah, I think
Okay.
so. But can we pass this now with that language not being in there? I think we had established that we don't pass anything unless the ordinance was complete.
It could be passed with the contingency.
I'm asking legal.
Yeah, because actually the ordinance is the same, it's just the attachment that we're talking about. So y'all can agree to make the change as added by Dr. Kelly.
Okay, then I'll withdraw my tabling. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Councilman Pena has withdrawn his table. Councilman Davis, what says you?
Withdraw my second.
All right. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 4B.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
With the change.
I should say with the change, excuse me.
With the
With
contingent of the
articulated
changes.
by Dr. Kelly, yep.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any other discussion needed on this, gentlemen? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4.6, consideration and possible action to authorize the establishment and recruitment of an assistant city manager position. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. Staff recommends authorizing the establishment of the Assistant City Manager position as classified, approve the associated job description, and authorize the city manager to proceed with recruitment and hiring in accordance with the city's personnel policies and adopted budget. The city manager recommends establishment of an Assistant City Manager position to strengthen executive leadership capacity, enhance organizational oversight, and support implementation of city council priorities. The Assistant City Manager will provide senior-level management support across assigned departments, improve cross-departmental coordination, and ensure continuity of leadership during periods of operational complexity, emergency response, or the absence of the city manager. Authorization of this item allows the city to initiate recruitment for a highly qualified professional consistent with recognized local government management standards. Consideration of funding for this position will occur under a separate agenda item addressing proposed budget amendments.
Council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to table.
Motion to table by Councilman Pena. Is there a second? Motion to table fails for lack of a second. Council, is there?
Mayor, I'll make a motion, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll make a motion to authorize the establishment and recruitment of an assistant city manager position as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
A second.
A second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none?
No, I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
You know, the reason why I want to table this is because I did some research on this, and I'm just trying to understand really what is needed from an assistant city manager at the pay scale. What is the pay scale on this position here? 155,000?
Correct.
That's a lot of money. And I'm just thinking about a couple of things. Number one, the budget. You know, we don't have it in the budget right now, I don't believe. And secondly, do we really need it as the city of Freeport, the city our size, and how many cities our size, you know, under 10,000 or under 15,000 have an assistant city manager that we can't accomplish with another administrative position that might be a fraction of this particular salary. And, you know, so there's that serious question there. And I know we want to talk about, well, who's in charge if something should happen to the city manager, or if they're on leave, or they're on vacation, who's in charge? I mean, that question can also be answered, but I'm not sure that, I should say that answer can be answered by making sure we hire appropriately, or for that matter, assign appropriately other staff in the city from that resolution in 4B that we just passed. But to move forward with this, I'm just wondering, you know, we've never had an assistant city manager, and so the need for one, and I'm not sure that there's enough workload there for the assistant city manager. The only thing I can think of that's important here is that in the case something were to happen, someone's ready to step in. But, you know, in terms of the credentials and the qualifications, are we looking to hire somebody that has equal or greater, or equal or less than our current city manager? And I'm just kind of curious about that particular question, if that can be answered, please.
Well, there is a job description that is included in the public packet. They have a minimum of 5 years progressively responsible executive or senior level managerial experience, so that would be less than what I have. Master's degree is preferred, but it's not required.
In public administration, business administration,
Correct.
And
Or a
when you-
related field.
when you say related field, or public administration or business administration, which of those three do you put the most weight in?
It's really going to depend on the person. So you could work with either of those, and once you find the right person, you work within their strengths and assign their departments that they would be in control of or have responsibility over based on their strong suits.
Do you really feel that there's enough work here in the city of Freeport to really require this position, considering that our neighboring cities here in the county, no city our size or smaller have an assistant city manager? And so I'm just curious, do we really feel that there's enough work here to substantiate this particular request?
I can say there is a tremendous workload. I mean, if you don't want to hire a person specifically dedicated to assistant city manager, my other recommendation would be to dual hat another position. And since we have Public Works open right now, I think that would be a perfect position to dual hat as assistant city manager, Public Works. That makes a lot of sense. We'd have to reopen the recruitment. Quite frankly, I didn't have any applicants that were worth looking at under the previously closed recruitment. So, I mean, we could revisit that job description,
Yeah.
save some money there and increase the pay on that one and not have the two positions. I mean, that would be, that's my fallback position. I had already thought about what if council doesn't like this?
Right,
So
right.
That's kind of where I would head towards next. But there's absolutely a need for, continuity of leadership.
Right.
My current span of control is about 13 people. Ideal is 5 to 7 if you want to be effective. So, I mean, can it be done without one? Sure. But how are we going to get the city to where we need to be? I don't think so. I'm just going to be putting out fires all the time.
For those that were around when Pines was here, did he not have an assistant city manager?
Yes.
Was he a qualified assistant city manager? And what was his salary?
I don't even know who it was.
Did we
but
get what
I
we paid
remember.
for?
I remember.
Was he managed appropriately? Was he the right person for the
I
position?
don't know.
Those are the questions that I always ask when we're looking to
That's
hire.
fine, but I'm just clarifying a statement that you made, that
Yeah.
the city has never
Oh,
had.
I stand by that statement. I still stand by
So
that
the-
statement. Did we have a
the
qualified
ci-
assistant
the
city manager before?
but
No.
The city has had one. And mistakes can be made when you have an assistant city manager, just like they can if you don't have an assistant city manager. I have a bit of a concern on the salary. I think that's kind of steep for an assistant, but I haven't been in the market for an assistant, so
Is that in the packet, the study of salaries? I didn't see it.
Just a recommendation, and to be clear, I did put it at parity with the chief of police because it is the second most important position in the city.
I would put it lower personally, but yeah. Circumstantially, if the circumstances arise, yeah, it's on par or greater. But for the majority, the extreme majority of the year, that's not the case. And in the case that there was a real problem at the city manager position that needed or required the assistant city manager to take that position at a prolonged level, then we're looking at a different problem.
And to piggyback off one of your comments that you made a while ago, we're the only city in the area this size that will be looking for a assistant city manager. Keep in mind, we're also the only city in the area this size that has a civil service. Okay?
Well, that was
So
voted on.
This is, but this is Freeport. We are not the other cities.
Yeah, and we got to be more diligent with our monies because we have very little.
All right, council, any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I had a concern about the money too. But a question, did we compare surrounding towns salary for assistant city manager? Or what surrounding towns, if they have one, what are they, did we see their salaries?
I have seen several, and they're higher. For example, Pearland was recently recruiting for an assistant city manager. They're in Brazoria County. I know they're a much higher population.
Right.
I get that, but
Right.
you know, they were 235,
Do we
which
have
is
Lake Jackson?
significantly higher than.
Do we have Lake Jackson or somewhere closer to us? Like,
I did not pull Lake Jackson's.
okay.
I Googled it on AI and there's none. Pearland is the closest one, but it doesn't compare only because of the size.
Right.
Lake Jackson has one.
They do have an assistant city
Yeah.
manager. I've met
They
him
got
over
one.
in Lake Jackson. I just don't have that
I
information.
mean, I'm sorry, in my search, the
Yeah.
comparativeness was on the population
Yeah.
and also the budget.
So I do believe that it is enough work in Freeport for assistant city manager. We got plenty of work to do if we want to grow, and you know, and I appreciate you trying to get qualified people. That's what we need, you know, qualified people in these positions to be able to help guide and move this city forward. So I do appreciate that. I just wanted to see where we stand, you know, next door to us, you know, what's the salary over there? And I know we have to compete, you know, but I mean, a lot of these cities that we're looking at are bigger, and so I know they would pay more, but we got to get close. And if that's, you know, in that range, I'm good with it, because I think we need the assistant city manager, and I think we need the qualifications that you put in there. We need, you know, qualified people, you know, here in the city in order for us to continue to grow.
A lot of times you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I would just recommend that we don't do a non-search, that there's an extensive search statewide or national like we did for the city manager position, so that we're not getting anybody that's underqualified. We need to make sure that if we're going to be paying top dollar, that we get top talent that is extremely qualified, so that we're not leaning on, what was the term?
First person that knocks on the door.
Pretty much, yeah. But looking at those individuals who in fact have the credentials of the degrees in this particular field of city management. And that's all I'll say about that. No further questions.
Anything from this side of the room?
Yes. Dr. Gelly, I appreciate your candor in stating that you do need assistance, that there's a lot of work. Yes, there was an assistant city manager here, Gilbert Arisby, who was here when Jeff Pines was here. And so there was a lot of work back then. There's even more now. And so I, too, have a little concerns with the salary. But again, you get what you pay for. And I trust your judgment. When it comes time to hiring, you'll find the right person who will fit the team of Freeport and the residents of Freeport. So that's all I have.
All right, so council, with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Pena being the nay. Agenda item 4D, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2026-3035 to approve the Veolia temporary contract extension. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. The City of Freeport and Veolia entered into a contract on September 14th, 2015 for operations, maintenance, and management of the city's water utility. The contract was scheduled to expire on September 30th, 2025, but was extended until December 31st, 2025. A 2-month extension was approved in December. Due to the city's prior notice of termination, the contract is not automatically renewed for an additional 10 years. This amendment provides for a 1-month extension to allow additional time to negotiate a new long-term agreement. I will say we're very close. We're just going through the final exhibits. We just need a little more time to get this finalized.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion needed on this, gentleman?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I heard you say, I mean, you did say you're very, very close. So you're confident this will be the last time? I mean, we only, maybe should be. I mean, I don't know.
It should be, yes.
It should be?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we get 60 days instead of 30 days, just in case?
If you want to give me 60, I'll take 60, but I don't think we'll need it.
I'd rather give you 60 and not need it.
Okay.
Has this been, the 60 days, has it been discussed with Veolia yet?
No.
Are they here?
We have a motion to approve on the floor. The 30 days. Did you want to change that motion?
Yeah, I'll withdraw it and make a different motion.
Okay,
Once the
Councilman
second-
Pena's withdrawn his motion to approve. Councilman Davis? You don't want to withdraw?
30 days, let's go.
Okay,
How does that work?
that means
If
it
the
stays,
motion, the person that makes the motion
stays where it is.
stays where it is,
Any other questions or comments, gentlemen?
just get her done.
Hearing, yes, sir.
I'm going to say it again. This is a bad contract for the city of Freeport. We've spent over $14 million the past 4 years, and we don't have anything to show for it positive. I believe that before Dr. Kelly was here, the contract negotiations were sabotaged because Veolia was trying to hire Rudy, and he was doing the negotiations on behalf of the city of Freeport as well. And I believe we should terminate it immediately with immediate effect, because it just stinks. I mean, we've had issues upon issues upon issues. I will credit the gentleman who is now the project manager. He's doing better, but it's still Veolia, the company. I mean, we've seen the issues where a fire hydrant wasn't working and a house burned down. And yet they state, oh, we do the maintenance, and they don't. Of course, we're having guidelines put in, but still, should have never got to that point. And so I'll tell you, I'll vote no just because of that reason alone. But I firmly believe this is a mistake that the city of Freeport is making again.
Thank you, Councilman. I would say that I do feel like the cities would be better off if we took this in-house. However, today, what is it, February 17th, is not the time to try to stop the progress that's been made. I'm sure in the contract we will put as many clauses as we can to protect the city, and hopefully they turn around and do what they're supposed to do. But if they don't, the city will do what we need to do to move on from it. But at this point, we really don't have a whole lot of choice. So, with that being said, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Matamoros being the nay. Agenda item 4E, consideration and possible action to approve the necessary generator utility upgrades at City Hall and the Service Center. Ms. Hurst.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, this item is for your consideration regarding necessary utility upgrades at City Hall and the Service Center to allow the installation of the TDM grant-funded generators to move forward. As part of the generator installation process, it was determined that certain electrical and utility modifications are required at both facilities in order to meet installation and operational requirements. These upgrades were not identified at the time the original budget was adopted and therefore were not included in the current fiscal year budget. Staff obtained quotes for the required work, and McDonald Municipal and Industrial submitted the lowest responsible quote. The total cost for upgrades at both facilities is $23,465. While this expense was unforeseen and not included in the adopted budget, it is incorporated into the budget amendment item that will be presented after this agenda item. From a financial standpoint, approval of these upgrades will allow the city to proceed with the grant-funded generator installations and maintain compliance with TDM project requirements. Staff recommend approval of the utility upgrades and authorizing McDonald Municipal and Industrial to perform that work.
Council, is there a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the necessary generator utility upgrades at City Hall and Service Center as presented for an amount not to exceed $23,465.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Rosso. Perfect timing on this. Hopefully we get it done before hurricane season. Council, any questions or comments? Hearing none?
Yes. I have a couple of questions. So these particular amendments are, it's going to cost the city $23,000?
Yes, sir, $23,465.
You said it's part of a grant?
This would be this would be our responsibility for the grant.
What part is the grants portion? What's the dollar amount for the grant portion?
I don't have that, and I don't want to misquote, but I can follow up in writing.
I'm just wondering if it's a $10 grant and we foot $23,000, or are they footing half of it? I'm just kind of curious what the total expense is then. If we don't know what the grant is, what's the total expense of the project itself for both properties or for both facilities?
I did not write it down before I came, but I can follow up on it.
Yeah, that's the first question I have. The second question I have is, these are for generators that are going to be affixed to the properties, both properties, and we're talking about the service center?
Correct.
And the City Hall building on Avenue H that we're renting?
No, sir. This is the West 2nd Street building.
Okay. What's the generator situation over there at the 2nd Street building?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Do we have a generator there now?
So the generator is ready to be installed, but cannot be installed at either of these locations until these upgrades are done. That's why this is here before you tonight. We're currently at a standstill on both projects.
All right. And McDonald's been vetted to, that's the company, the contracting company?
Yes, sir.
They've been vetted to, have they done work for the city in the past?
I am not 100% sure
I just want to be
off
sure
the
that
top of my
they're,
head.
just want to be sure that they're appropriately insured and bonded and not have a,
Yes, sir. They
Curva
wouldn't be
Rubius problem
able
on our
to
hands.
be doing any work on the projects as it is if they were not.
Okay. And are we paying them anything in advance, or will they do the work first and then we pay them?
No, sir, we don't pay anyone in advance.
Good. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And if I'm not mistaken on this particular grant, they told us where we're going to put the generators.
Yes, sir, that is correct,
Yeah,
yes.
so we really don't have a say-so as to where they're going. They said,
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I mean, Where are they gonna put it? Are
they
they
said,
gonna put it over there
if you
across the
want,
street?
if you want this generator, this is where we're going to put it.
I know, but what does that mean for us? What does that mean? Like, is it gonna be right there at the front door? Is it gonna be, you know,
Oh,
on
that
top of someone's head?
means
Where's it gonna be?
that means that generator can't go to the police station.
Oh,
or
I
it
thought you were
can't-
trying to say where
Can't
in
go
that
to a
building.
different building.
Yeah. But we know it's supposed to be at those buildings, number one.
Yes, sir,
Correct.
actually, because it's through TDM, they actually even use GPS points for those buildings.
So are they gonna be on the roof? They're gonna be in the parking lot? Is that the question here? That we don't have any control on where they actually place it physically?
No, sir, that's not correct. It's part of the project scope. There's drawings that came before y'all when y'all approved the project, or accepted the grant, yes.
And so where again is the location of this particular generator at the city hall?
At City Hall is in the little fenced area off to the side.
Okay. So I'm not, all right, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you. That answers my question.
All right, any other questions, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4F, consideration and possible action to approve a retainer agreement with Chase Consulting Solutions for grant writing services. Ms. Hurst.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this item is for your consideration to approve a 12-month retainer agreement with Chase Consulting Solutions for grant writing services. Under the proposed agreement, the firm will prepare and submit a total of 9 grant applications for the city, including 4 foundation grants, 2 state or local grants, and 3 federal grant applications. The cost of the retainer is $6,916.67 a month for a 12-month term. This expense was not known during the budget cycle, therefore was not included. However, it is incorporated into the budget amendment that will be presented. From a financial perspective, this agreement allows the city to pursue additional external funding opportunities that may offset future project costs and reduce reliance on local funds. Staff recommends approval of the retainer agreement with Chase Consulting as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Ms. Hurst, do we have any say-so in the grants that they apply for?
Yes, sir.
That was a good answer.
Yes, we do.
Council, any other questions?
Yeah, so this is an amendment to the budget that wasn't allotted for, is that right?
This is not the budget amendment. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the way you worded that.
I'm just wondering if this particular expense of about 72,000 plus or 75,000, I'm not sure what the total is.
84.
84, even worse. If that was authorized on the budget, and for that matter, if this type of amendment is legal for the council to approve, that's a question for the city attorney.
Yes, the several items on the agenda that y'all are going through, Ashley is making sure to let y'all know before y'all vote that the dollar total that's going to be required and that it will require a budget amendment. Then further on down in the agenda, that budget amendment will be presented and voted on separately. And prior to this, Ashley and I and Ms. Kelly went through all these, and they are all legal.
That's all I need to know. The second question I have is, are there any other grant companies that do this as a percentage of what they actually successfully achieve for the city?
Sure, there are.
Were there any of those considered? And just curious why we chose these?
This company is very highly rated. We reached out and were able to start working with them. We did some onboarding with them. They came back within a few weeks with an entire spreadsheet of identified grants that the city would be a great match for. Unfortunately, there was a change in management in the city at the time, so we kind of pushed it to the back burner. But the city and staff were very impressed and comfortable with the working relationship that we had already started with them.
There was a working relationship with them already? What does that mean exactly?
So for us to onboard with them and for them to do our research to identify those grants, that was the first step it's the first step of any consultant firm regarding grants.
I'm just trying to understand the nature of the inception of the relationship. And so they were onboarded, meaning we paid them at that time to come on board, and then we had to stop because there was a transition of management. Which transition are you referring to? Are you referring to the Petty to Pennington or the Pennington to Kelly?
Pennington to Kelly.
Okay, so this particular grant organization or company was already working with the city?
We onboarded with them in September. I know Mr. Pennington mentioned it several times to council. Council was very excited about this opportunity. This puts the city at a very competitive level for grants. Currently, some departments already have grant consultants for smaller grants that they seek out. But unfortunately, given the workload that y'all just talked about on another item, this would be a very beneficial expense for the city.
When you say it's a very beneficial expense for the city, and mind you, I'm very seriously curious about this. I'm not neither being facetious nor counterpointing to it for the sake of. That's never the case, in fact. But just to be clear, what I'm just trying to understand is, do we have any kind of metrics or provisions that the city has considered or put in place with this agreement that we're looking to engage with them, that's going to be paying them $80-some-odd thousand, where we actually have some idea of what our ROI is going to be, or what kind of grants we might actually be able to achieve? Or is it just we're going to pay them and we're hoping for the best?
No, sir, that's where the importance of the comfortability that staff already feels with this firm, I think, is very important. Any grant before it's even touched by them is talked about with us. Staff has to work to provide all of the documentation. Sure, they'll write it for us, but staff is tasked with providing all of the needed things. During the onboarding process, staff was able to educate the firm on what our priorities were, so they're aware. We have aging infrastructure. We have city facilities that we are almost desperate to get some plans going for. The fire engine is on there. We have golf. The fact that they're close to turning a revenue, there are certain grants even for golf, for municipal golf courses. The Main Street program, the museum, they've identified grants for everything. And because those are already identified, maybe some of those smaller ones staff can tackle while they're able to write these big ones for us.
I like the answer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you for the research and bringing that up. You know, I've been asking, we should get a grant writer ever since I've been here. I hear the chief and fire chief, and you know, they always, you know, getting little grants, you know, but this is a big grant. You know, when you're looking around and reading the paper and stuff, you see neighboring cities, they getting grants for infrastructure, they getting grants for this, grant for that, and you see Freeport, we getting a grant for a generator. No, I mean, this is how we step the game up, because we don't know, and you don't know, and you have to pay somebody to, you know, write a good grant and go out and find these grants. And they say like Freeport is I don't know, what is it, low income, you know, it's all kind of stuff out there. It's grant money out there for us, and we just don't know. The rec center, you know, it's grants money for the rec center over there that we can rebuild. I mean, you know, build our rec center up. It's a lot of things out there that we don't know, that, you know, that's their job to find them. And hopefully, you know, hopefully we're on the right track.
And if I may correct the record, or just to have it on the record, but I didn't even think about the rec center, but that was one of the facilities that I specifically named. The fact that the basketball games, there's nowhere for the parents to sit. However, the way that building is built, it's really built up against the fence, so we're kind of at a loss as to how do we expand that. So that is one of the priority items, if you will, that went on our onboarding list for areas that we would be interested in finding some grant funding.
That'd be worth the $84,000 right there. Council, any other questions or comments for Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
So Ms. Hurst, when we are going to start using this grant writing company, and Dr. Kelly, will we be, especially federal level and state level, will we be reaching out to our representatives, such as Congressman Weber, federal level, and then our representatives, Vasut and Barry, will we be reaching out to them to have them write letters of recommendation to allow us to get these grants? That way we get a step above. And the reason I'm asking that question is because Congressman Weber actually came to Phillips for a town hall, and I spoke with him, explained who I was, and he said, I've never heard from Freeport for these grants. I'll gladly write a letter of recommendation. He gave me his chief of staff's numbers and his number. Are we going to actually actively push for that?
Sure, I'm willing to do anything to help the city submit a more competitive grant application. I knew that Vasut had said that before. I believe maybe Mr. Pennington had me jot it down for any grant applications. Unfortunately, we haven't applied for any under my management, so I haven't been able to have that opportunity yet, but we can absolutely do Weber also.
Okay. Yeah, that's something, I mean, if we're going to expend this amount, I would like to make sure that we give ourselves the best foot forward to try and capture any type of federal or state grant. I know Representative Barry, he's on the water board, so there's many ways that we can utilize that asset as well. So, okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions, gentlemen? I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4G, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2026-2761 to authorize a budget and amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. Ms. Hurst.
Thank you. This item is the second budget amendment for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. The amendment addresses adjustments across multiple funds to reflect operational needs, project expenditures, and previously approved initiatives. General fund adjustments include the Assistant City Manager's salary and associated benefits, the retainer agreement for grant writing services, the city desk phone expense, Christmas on Main decor costs, the traffic study done by Kimley Horn, the solar stop sign installation, the legal fees associated with the civil service startup, conference cost related to the civil service, office supplies for civil service startup operations, the city manager education pay variance, the city manager cell phone allowance variance, and the EDC road overlay project payment and its related expenditure. All of these items are funded within the general fund and are being formally appropriated through this amendment to ensure accurate budget alignment and transparency. Within the TERS fund, this amendment includes the pool project appropriation and related expenditure. Within the court security fund, this amendment would reflect security upgrades for the municipal court funded by legally restricted court security revenues. In the water and sewer fund, the amendment includes the EDC water valve project payment and its associated expenditure. And finally, within the Facilities and Grounds Fund, this amendment includes the golf course bathroom remodel, the generator upgrades, and the related transfer in line item. In closing, these amendments would ensure all expenditures and project payments are properly appropriated within their respective funds in accordance with state law and city policy. Staff recommends approval of this second budget amendment for 2025-2026 as presented. Thank you.
Ms. Hurst, before I call the motion, I want to hear from you. You are okay with these amendments?
Yes, sir. I believe Duncan, myself, and Dr. Kelly have been working very hard for the past month to get this before y'all.
All right, thank you very much. So council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-2761 to authorize budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2025-2026 as presented.
We have a motion to approve the budget amendment by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion needed on this, gentlemen?
Yeah, what page are you reading off the list of each of those items you mentioned there at the very end of your presentation?
Just went next page, next page.
Yes, sir. Each of the items is listed within the memo and in the backup memo letter.
What page is that?
86 on the computer.
It's 86 in the book, too.
What about on the printout?
274.
274?
86. Of a total of 274.
Okay, I got 336, so I'm just curious what page we're on.
I have 85 of 336.
Yeah, it starts on 85, 4G.
So we have assistant city manager salary and benefits of 120, but we just considered one for 155. How is that resolved?
So within my memo letter, which is the backup to your agenda item, it's broken down as to the calculations. Since it would be a mid-year expense, we did the math and calculated it that way.
Oh, so it would be 120 since it's mid-year?
120 includes the salary and benefits needed for the rest of this year.
And the Christmas on main decor, we're having that coming out of the general fund. I thought that was on the EDC. Or is that on for the city to be on hook for?
The EDC funded a portion of the Christmas tree. This would be the expenses related to those large displays that were down there in downtown.
Okay. And the EDC road overlay project, was that approved?
Well,
Yes.
I was going to ask by EDC or council, but either way, it was approved by both. Yes, sir. Also, in my memo, it references the resolution number where y'all approved that.
I thought for some reason that was tabled, but, so the city's on hook for the 422, or is the EDC on hook for that 422?
The EDC has already paid the city, and that's why we need to appropriate that payment as well as that expenditure within our budget.
And so with this budget amendment, we're left with 117,000 for the year?
Remaining, yes, sir.
And in the TERS fund, the TERS is paying for the rec center pool of 169? And
Yes,
they've-
sir.
And they've allotted that money to the city as well?
No, sir. The TERS has its own fund, so the project was approved. So we just need to appropriate that expense within the budget in their fund.
So what amount on the pool is the city on hook for?
This is the TERS fund.
Oh, on the TERS fund. And then on the water and sewer fund, the EDC water valve project, did we determine whether that was legal for this EDC to be paying or doing?
I'll defer to legal.
Yes, sir, it's good.
All right. The Facilities and Grounds Fund before the budget amendment and after, what facilities and grounds are we looking to improve with this particular amendment?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, on the Facilities and Grounds Fund amendment here, what facilities and grounds are we looking to improve specifically?
On this amendment before you is the golf course bathroom remodel project that council approved,
Okay.
the generator upgrades that y'all just approved tonight, and then it will add in a transfer from the general fund line that was mistakenly, and I take accountability for overlooking that. It was approved within the budget cycle, but I did not get it in the budget book before I printed them. So for full transparency, it's included before you tonight.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks
No
for owning that. No further questions.
Council, anyone else? I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 4H, consideration and possible action regarding the Freeport Police Department jail renovation proposals. Chief Howell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Y'all have to bear with me a little bit as I don't have much of a voice left. So staff recommends rejecting the bid proposals that were brought forth for the jail. This was a project that we had originally opened up last year. We extended that opening again because we'd only received one bid at the time. And when finance went to a new program on Planet Bids, we expanded that to be able to try to get more bids in. We did receive 2 additional bids, but all 3 bids are quite a bit over our budgeted amount. So what we're asking council to do is reject all of those bids so we can create a new proposal that's going to be hopefully a little more streamlined and then go out for bids again.
Thank you, Chief.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Hold on a second. Now the agenda item says consideration of possible action regarding the Freeport Police Jail renovation proposals.
Oh, let me read.
Motion to
Yeah, so-
to reject it is what
Approve the
we,
rejection.
A motion to approve the rejection. I want to make sure we're not voting the wrong thing. So we have a motion to approve the rejection of the proposals by Councilman Pena. Is there a second? I will second it. Sorry, Councilman Davis, you're too slow. Obviously, Chief's voice is not in the best of condition right now, so council, I would hope the questions and comments for her are going to be minimum. So are there any?
I call the question.
Hearing none, the question's been called. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion to deny passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Get well
Thank you.
soon, Chief.
Agenda item 4I has already been discussed, so we're going to go to agenda item 4J. Consider invoices from Olson & Olson. Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, so the city received some invoices from the Olson Law Firm for work that they performed in December of 2025. They were terminated in their representation of city back in June. So there was no authorization for them to perform those tasks. And so I'd recommend that the council vote to deny paying those invoices.
We have a motion on the floor, or no, we don't have a motion. We have a recommendation on the floor.
Correct.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to not pay Olson & Olson for those services that were outside of the contract agreement.
We have a motion to not pay by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion on this, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a question. You said they turned it in December. I know when they were fired, it was talked about until we find another legal counsel that they would still step in and perform some stuff that they had on the table or we had on the table already. I was just trying to figure out, is this any, did that roll over to that type of stuff, or until we hired a new attorney? I know that stuff should have stopped, but I don't know. You understand what I'm going?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I was not here about those, when y'all had those discussions. However, in August, I guess, the end of July, early August, whenever y'all hired me as an interim, we had the discussion with City Manager Pennington, and we talked to, notified Olson that the city has retained somebody, and so they weren't allowed to do any further services. These particular items were, I believe, related to open record requests that were received back sometime in the summer. And so the Attorney General sent their opinions to Olson because they were the ones that were that originally sent them to the AG's office. And so instead of what Olson should do is when they receive that from the Attorney General, forward it directly to the city and have the city take the further action, right? Just like if I was your attorney in a divorce and then you fired me and you had a new attorney, but somebody accidentally sent something to me thinking I was still your attorney, I can't do any work on that. I've got to send it to you and your new attorney, right? Yeah. And so that's what happened. There were some items that were sent to them in December, and they billed for reviewing and analysis and also to send correspondence out to third parties as claiming to be the attorneys for the city, and they charge for that service. And so they should have, when they received that, not performed any work, but just directed it to the city.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so here we are considering an invoice that Olson & Olson did not perform their duties responsibly, and now trying to get the city to pay for something that we're not obligated at all to pay for. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Ashley deferred that to me with that question, and that's why we're here.
It's a legal question, yeah.
Yeah,
I apologize.
that's more of a legal question.
Yeah. So what's the answer?
The question, the answer is no, y'all should not pay it because they weren't authorized to perform service.
Right. I just want to make sure that that's abundantly clear and reiterates the whole point of lack of confidence in Olson & Olson. No further questions or comments.
Council, anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4K, consider approving payment for civil service attorney specialist. Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. So as y'all know that, the city's in the process with the Civil Service Commission setting up the whole civil service system. It's a specialized statute, specialized law. There are a couple of attorneys in the state of Texas, two specifically that have a reputation as being specialists in those areas. I have no hesitation to admit that if there's items or areas that I don't specialize in, that I have no problem conferring with other attorneys that are specialists in those areas. The Civil Service Commission had expressed some interest in having that resource available if they have questions. I believe that Police Chief Howell had done some inquiry of contacting some potential attorneys in the field. So I met with Ms. Ganaway at the conference in Waco. I talked to her prior to that, and then I talked to her in person at the conference in Waco. Actually, she had done work for the city of Alvin in 2021 when Alvin created their Civil Service Commission, and I talked to the city attorney in Alvin, and she had very good reviews of Ms. Ganaway as well. Talked to Ms. Ganaway about working as a consultant in the same manner that she did with the city of Alvin. And so she, was willing to take that role and presented a retention letter indicating what services she could provide and the price for that. She bills at a higher rate because I guess of her specialty status. She bills at a rate of $340 per hour. We will try to be judicious and only use her in a limited way to try to keep the cost down, but it's good to have an expert there if we do have questions. And so I'm coming to the council asking for authorization for the city to pay Ms. Ganaway at the rate of $340 per hour for any work that she does in support of the Civil Service Commission.
Council, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion to accept for discussion.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Davis,
Yeah, I'll second it.
second by Councilman Rosso.
It's a lot of money.
It is. Did we go out for request for qualifications for a civil service attorney?
No, sir. I would just be contracting it through my firm, but it would be a direct pass-through. So I will not receive any compensation out of it. It would be direct pass-through to Ms. Ganaway.
And why are we not doing that? We do it for everybody else. Why aren't we doing legal?
Well, just like Olson & Olson, the city attorney has the authority to hire, contract with other attorneys to provide service under the as a city attorney. And so that's why I propose that we do it this way. In the city charter, the city attorney has the authority to choose attorneys. Similar to Olson & Olson, they have several attorneys that work for their firm. But I can tell you that she's, regarded as the probably the second ranked attorney specializes in this practice, and it was she was the Chief Howell had asked around, and her name popped up quite a bit. But I know that there's two individuals that are known for specializing in this field, and she's one of them.
Well, my opinion is I think it's kind of hypocritical that we ask everybody else to go and get a RFQ, and yet we're not doing that. And yes, I understand it says in the charter, but I think it's still hypocritical to do that. Okay.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I kind of understand where you're coming from, Mr. Matamoros, but all of this is new, and it's new rules to the game, so it's a lot of things gonna change when it comes to this union stuff. So, I mean, it's a learning curve, but all the rules are different on both sides in this part of the game. So I don't know, we might have to play it by ear, how it go at first, and see what happens. I mean, you want to get somebody, I mean, maybe if you knew them or, did some work with them before, or, I mean, we're going to have somebody on the city side to, qualified to be able to back this situation. But I understand, about going out and looking for, but it's a different game though, but that's it.
Well, I do feel like we're going to need some guidance, some professional guidance, and at least in the initial portion of this, to make sure that we get it right as we can the first time. And council, remember that this person is a contractor, and should council decide they no longer want to deal with this particular attorney, then we also have the right to cancel. So, with that being said, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Councilman Matamoros being the nay, and Councilman Pena has stepped out. Agenda item 4L has been completed, so that, ladies and gentlemen, will bring us to work session. Councilman Davis, Ward B.
Ward B, all right. Well, thank everybody for coming out. Thanking everybody for tuning in tonight. I know we had a long night, but I just want to bring up a point. Dr. Kelly, council, mayor, the lawyer, each and every one of y'all, I would like to present that we have a meeting, on the agenda here maybe, and we don't want to postpone it too long, in March. In next month, one of the next month meeting. But I want y'all to go home and think about it, and when we come back to the meeting, let's have it like it's like a vision meeting, a goal meeting. This is what I think Freeport needs. We need a vision, and we need a goal, and we need we need to come up with the steps to get to that goal. And, you know, and it may be a 3-year goal, but we got to have something that we're working towards to build this city, to you know, develop housing, or, you know, whatever it is. But everybody come up with 3 things. Three things that we want to, that you want to achieve, you know, before we get out of here. Because a couple of y'all are exiting here in May. But I would like your opinion. You've been here long enough, and you know, you got good ideas, but I think we wasted a lot of time, you know, and we haven't set a goal. We haven't set a vision for Freeport. And that's what we're missing here, because we're spinning our wheels and we're not, and Freeport is not growing, and we're missing, we're missing the connections and just the opportunities, that all the potential that Freeport has to capitalize on. You know, I seen the Main Street come up here, and she did a presentation, and, you know, she did an amazing job. You know, I don't think I've seen the Main Street or you know, just another board come up and give a presentation like that. So my hats off to her. But our vision and our goal needs to transfer and work alongside Main Street, because it all has to come together. It all has to come together, and for the opportunity of Freeport to grow, because the Main Street's downtown and everything, and that's about, and how are we going to get people to come to Freeport? You know, what do we have for the attraction for the people? How do we capitalize off of the water that we have here, the beach that we have down the road, you know, the downtown? You know, everybody don't have a downtown. I mean, you know, but that's just things that we need to capitalize on. And the only way that I see that we're going to do that is if you set a goal, set a vision for the city, and set a goal. And when you do that, you know, that it takes 3 to 5 years to make these visions and goals come true. And that just be, I think that's the spark that could change the Freeport and our council, and just everybody coming together and getting excited, because you hear and you see the vision, and you know, and we're working together to do that every meeting. Something has to do with the goal and the vision that we set. It has to be on each meeting. What are we doing to move forward, to be successful in getting to a successful goal in the vision and the growth of Freeport? So I would ask that, you know, within the next 2 meetings, that we would have that on the agenda and get started on a vision and a goal for Freeport. Thank you.
Just a thought for you, Councilman. You might wait until after the election and get the vision of the new council members, because at that point, we ain't gonna care what Councilman Matamoros thinks.
Well, I mean,
Just a thought.
no, I get it, but you know, but Councilman Matamoros may say something that just makes a lot of sense, and it goes aligned with what we need to be started on. You know, he could plant the seed. It's all about planting the seed, and you have to water, and then we have to water the seed, and it has to grow. But you know, he may have that great idea, but now he's going to roll off and leave with it. I didn't mean to start you back up. Yeah, you need. I mean, when it's talking about the city. I mean, we got to. I mean, we all heads. It's 5 heads are better than one, and I don't want him to. You know, they say you'll take that great idea to the grave. Well, I don't want him to take it to his house, and leave it here, and see what we can do with it.
Let's see what Councilman Matamoros has to say about it. Councilman Matamoros, Ward C.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Davis. I will, if it's the will of the council to have that discussion in an open meeting, I'll bring my thoughts if council chooses not to and wait till the new council is seated. I'll bring it during a work session because I do have a few things that I would like to see the city prioritize. So, yeah. I guess, let me just say, as everybody knows, I am not seeking reelection. I am choosing not to seek reelection because my family and my wife have suffered. I need to be a dad to my daughters, and I need to be a husband to my wife again. My career has stagnated, and so I need to reprioritize myself with those. So that is the reason why I'm choosing not to seek reelection. I did have many members within the ward asked me to run again, but I explained to them, and they respect my wishes. So just to let everybody know. There are a couple of issues, Dr. Kelly, within the ward. I want to see if we can have Public Works go back out to Avenue G in Yellowstone. There's a ditch next to Mr. Tom Zerlot. It was looked at once before. There's just constant water standing, even, let's just say, weeks, month after a rain. And after this big rain, water's just standing. So if we can have that looked into again, because it becomes a mosquito infested pond, and don't want that to cause an outbreak of anything. So there's that. And then the other thing that I've been noticing in our ward is if we can have code enforcement start looking at all these vehicles that are just being stationary, not moving. We're having quite a few within the ward. I understand things happen, but there's a couple of houses, and I won't call them out, that they look like they have auto junkyards because they have multiple vehicles. And so if we want Freeport to start progressing, we need to make sure that we take care of those things. And so I'd like to see code enforcement start looking into that a little bit more. And I can provide the list if need be, but I'm pretty sure our code enforcement may have those lists, those addresses already. So, yeah. So there was a spirited back and forth earlier this evening. And that spirited back and forth between myself and the resident, I just was staring. She stated I lied about her carport, which was on city property. I didn't lie. It was on city property, just barely, but it was still on city property. There was an agreement drafted that stated, hey, if we have to get to that property to put a pump for the benefit of the residents, and we have to move your carport, it's going to be moved if we damage it. We're not responsible because it's not a lot, but it's a little bit on city property. And so her stating that I lied about that is not wrong. You can go and look in city information, put a information request, and you'll see that there was an agreement drafted about that. So that resident stating that I was lying about that is, again, totally false. And it just speaks to where that resident says principles before personality. Thank you, Mayor. And that resident is a very biased resident, bought for. When I bring up something, I bring receipts. Here's an email that was given to me. It says, speaking points for December 18th City Council meeting on December 18th. From J. Pena, jeff.pena@gmail.com, to, I'm not going to mention all the people that was emailed on this, but pdancy82@gmail.com, pattysaleshouston@gmail.com. Date, Monday, December 18th, 2023, at 11:59 a.m. Central Standard Time. Morning, just a quick note. Need to clean house before we do any process improvement recommendations. 1, multiple individuals need to speak out at city council meeting on these bullet points. So when I see her come up here and others, I know they're probably reading off of a script what they're being told to say. Multiple individuals need to speak out at a council meeting on these bullet points. A, Kelty and CFO have fiduciary responsibility to the city as their primary roles. B, Kelty was fired for violating the contract and protocols. No performance bond, no work permit. And it goes on and on and on. To all the residents out there, yeah, you can attack me. I'm not here for myself. Not here to gain anything. I'm here to see the city of Freeport be the best Freeport. Progress. In my 3 years here, I pushed hard at the beginning for a public-private partnership to have our parks renewed. And I went to Phillips 66, my employer, and asked for some money to do that. Went to Dow, and they asked. And we received money. And in partnership with them and the EDC, we were able to rehabilitate 3 parks that are within neighborhoods. The park that's closest to me is Stephen F. Alston. I was actually going through a picture that my wife found when I was a kid. I was probably 9 years old. And the slide that was there before it was removed was over 40 years old. And it was there until that park project was done. I've never asked for anything for myself, will not. I want what's best for the city. You can come and attack me, say all these things, that's fine. But just note that I do have receipts. If I say something, I have copies. Just like I've stated many times before about non-payment of hotel occupancy taxes. I have actual receipts. An actual receipt right here. I'll pull it out right now. From Airbnb. Your reservation is concerned. Unique coastal loft getaway at historic Freeport. Entire home and apartment hosted by Jeff. Here's a reservation. Here's a receipt. All the information, and it says occupancy taxes and fees.
Not illegal.
And not once have those been remitted to the city of Freeport. Not once. And he wants a question. He wants to question my integrity.
Oh, it's clear.
Councilman?
And I have folders upon folders of receipts of all different types of things. I even enjoy, because he's blocked me from his social media account.
We can talk
Where
about it now.
he
If Jay will allow
enjoys-
us.
Councilman.
You want to allow us?
He enjoys making fun of my last name, calling it Matamore Ass, ASS.
Shoe fits.
He wants to do all these funny pictures, but you know what? I, myself, that's okay. If he wants to do it, just shows his character. But look, I have a picture here. I'm not a criminal, but here's his inmate photo.
Yeah, tell
You
them
can't
how
say,
you
you
laughed
can't
about
say that about me. Driving while
Not yet,
intoxicated.
not yet.
And so in closing, I have a lot more, and I can probably do it, but I'm sure Mr. Davis, Mayor Kane, Dr. Kelly, Mr. Russell want to get home to their families. But I have a lot more that I can easily share
Share them. Share all of them.
that will be very enlightening.
Nobody believes you.
And so, in closing, I'll just say,
Dropped on your
if you
head.
have any questions, come and ask me. Not hard to find. I'm pretty open. And thank you.
Ward D, Councilman Rosso.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out. Those that came out, we had a full house. We got some soldiers still in here. And that's what I call you guys, soldiers, to put up with this display. It's called entertainment. Everywhere I go, you know, people know me because I've been in this town all my life. And they know I'm a councilman. And they think that it's something that I can do to turn the temperature down. It seems like every meeting we have, the temperature gets high. Anyway, I am, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. I just want to let you know, this is just information. The Gulf Coast Transit District, I'm sure everyone's aware of it. It used to be that they had a route that they used to run, but they don't run that route anymore. They got what they call micro transit. I got voluntold to be on their board, and so I gotta drive to Texas City once a month to go to the meetings. And I mean, they have a really neat system. Most of the people I think that ride that transit have this app on the phone, or you could call it in. It's 1-800-266-2320. If you know anybody that's invalid, on dialysis or in a wheelchair, you can call that number, or you can go online and you can literally look at where the van or the bus or whatever it is you need to ride. And Ted Ross, he's the CEO over that, and I was in his office this afternoon, and he was showing me how this thing works. You can go online and you can schedule a van or a bus, depends on how many people you have, to come and pick you up and take you to your destination. I think that is so awesome. It's streamlined. They started it in 2024. All the way up till then, they had a route that they would go in, and if you were on that route, you could catch the bus. And it's really, really cheap. I think it's like $1 or 50 cents, something like that. You can ride all the way to Angleton. But I just wanted y'all to be aware of that, make you aware of that they literally transport thousands of people. because they go from Galveston to Alvin, Freeport, Lake Jackson, you name it. Also, I wanted to tell you about the Senior Citizen Board. We're up and running. We got a bunch of new members. I think all of them are new, except for me. I got voluntold for that one too. I guess retirement has its advantages, right? No, we do some awesome things. We got a good budget. We meet right over here at River Place, and we can have anywhere from. Dr. Kelly's been there. She's seen the crowd. We may have 120 people, especially on bingo. You'd be surprised what senior citizens do for a $3 prize, a $2 prize. Or they're just as proud and so glad that they won in bingo. I'm also the liaison for the TML. We got coming up on the 20th of this month. Is really interesting. They have some really good speakers. Matter of fact, they give you a meal. You have a meal. 20th of what is this? February? 20th of February. We're having a meeting right there on Timmons Avenue in Houston. I'm on 3 other boards. But I'm not going to mention those because they don't have anything to do with the city. Those ones that I just told you about, it's a really good deal for the city of Freeport. We need more, like Councilman Davis said. We need to step up our game and do what we can. God loves a cheerful giver. If you can learn how to give, you're going to always have something. That's all I got. Let me say that number again, 1-800, for you out there, out in town, 1-800-266-2320. That's the number you call if you want to. You can schedule a ride 4, 5, 6 hours in advance. Like you can call them at 9 in the morning and tell them you need a ride at 4 in the evening, and you on your computer or phone, you put in where you are and where you're going. And they Johnny on the spot. They there to pick you up, take you where you want to go, and then once you finish what you're doing, they'll bring you back home. I think that's an awesome service.
What's that number again?
1-800-266-2320. It's the Gulf Coast Transit District.
How much heads up do we have to give them?
You got to give them 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah. They have vans. Have y'all seen all these new vans? They just bought a whole bunch of brand new vans. They were renting the vans up until 2025, but they just bought a bunch of brand new vans. They can pick up you in a wheelchair, bicycle. That's a service that we should, the more people ride that thing, the better off it is. Because, they get funding just like any other organization. And the more people ride, the more money they get.
And that's for anybody, not just seniors?
Anybody.
Thank you.
Anybody. You go online and they have an app, the GCTD app, and you just put in your information. Even if you don't use it, you can tell somebody else, and they may use it. That's all I got, Jim.
Councilman Pena, Ward A, you missed your turn. If you can agree to cut it in half tonight.
Always. Yeah, I was going to read out of some scripture. That might take too long.
If you
If
can
you're happy
agree,
with me to
if you
to
can
read some
agree,
scripture, I'd like to.
if you can agree to cut it in half, then
I don't know.
let it roll.
I don't know if there's a legal
Yeah.
mandate to that.
Well, I can go on to myself and the city manager and we can adjourn.
Well, that's your call, Jerry.
I said if you can cut
Thank
it
you.
in half.
Here we go. I'll be as short as possible here. I want to thank everybody, as always, for coming out. And it's greatly appreciated that there are two residents here tonight, Ms. Marshall and Mr. Monty. And that said, I want everybody to know, I don't know, do we know how many people are online still? If there's anybody at all at this hour? Mr. Cohen? We average about 20, 40. Okay.
He can let you know once
Sure.
he gets
Well,
it done.
I'll just say, hope everybody had a nice, 39 right now? Wonderful. I'm glad that there was 39 people that have tuned in tonight. And I want to remind everybody that there are over 250 signatures for the petition to recall the mayor. And I just want to applaud everybody for their civic participation. And make it very clear that there's two individuals here tonight at this very hour, and earlier tonight, there was probably about 15 folks, in addition to staff. And I just want to remind everybody that your voice and your vote and your signatures completely outnumber the folks that come in here and are heckling and cackling and supporting individuals or I should say, demanding that city council members violate the charter, and I want to touch on that in a little bit. But first and foremost, the next thing I want to touch on is I want to thank the city staff and the police department for all of their efforts here very quickly this weekend and today for all the additional security. We had Lieutenant Graham here, I think he's just stepped outside, but then we also have Detective Cardoza, others, Graham in the back, thank you, sir. And I really want to applaud both our city manager, Dr. Kelly, and also our chief of police, Jennifer Howell. She's been terribly under the weather, but she made the effort here to make sure that the city council chambers now have additional cameras and additional security, and the podium has been moved back so that nobody can encroach this area anymore and threaten or assault any of our council members, any of our elected officials, as happened on Friday. And so I want to thank the city staff for acting so quickly to do so. And we just don't need anybody to be feeling threatened or that their safety is in question, especially councilmen and especially those residents that are coming here in person. If we don't feel safe, how do we expect our residents at home to feel safe? And I really want to thank, again, the city manager and the police chief for making these initial efforts here to make sure that we are watching on multiple cameras, audio and video recording, and that we're also securing the interior here with our officers. And the discussion about wanting residents to enter is also on the table again because of the recent threats, and also the question about some of the residents bringing weapons into these meetings. And so the hostility levels have been here, and I documented it since 2022. And it's 2022, 2023, 24, 25, and sadly, here we are, 26. 5 years in a row, there's been one form of assault or threat, a terrorist threat, by, sadly, fellow councilmen and mayors. And now we have the last incident here with the mayor's wife. And we'll get into that here later. But I'll just say this, or maybe tomorrow. The charter is our constitution. The city's charter is the constitution. It is our law. And at the last meeting, the council was to consider the recall, but the required qualified signatures were not obtained. That is true. That is why I offered to table it. But What was not allowed to be said, and I tried to say it earlier, when I've said it online, is that we are still completing the process to recall the mayor, Jerry Kane. And the law requires that through the charter, that although 10 people here on Friday were trying to have the council violate the charter. Now, mind you, we've had resolutions here that we said, hey, are those in compliance with the charter or not? And when it was discovered that they weren't, we didn't vote in line with them. So just remember that we're always beholden to the oath that we took to abide by the charter. And let's make no mistake about it, that oath is to the residents. And that oath was taken on a Bible. So if you are of any persuasion of Christian faith, you should be taking that 10 times more, exponentially more seriously, because now you're violating your oath to God. And I want to make sure that everybody's really understanding that the formality that the rules are for a recall are real simple. You get the legitimate signatures and the threshold, and then the council, per the charter, has to basically do the will of the public. And then it goes to the election, and then the public will decide. But at no point should the city be, any councilman should be ever violating the charter, and much less anybody else in the audience playing games with our charter to meet their own political ends because of the oath that was taken. And I want to make sure that everybody takes that seriously. I also want to make sure that that it's very clear about the testimony on the TWC for Lance Petty, that the violation here and the narrative isn't based on whether they made a testimony. The narrative here and the problem is that the damage is already done. And that was the cooperation and coordination with Lance Petty and his attorney. And you don't have to believe me, just believe the attorneys. The state attorneys are already in procedure, in process, to correct that matter as best as hopefully possible before the city ends up losing a lot more. I also want to make mention that, yes, here we have a new election cycle, and come May 2nd, I think is the date, we will be having a new election for a councilman in Ward A or woman council person in Ward A and in Ward C. And so that everybody understands, in Ward A is, the candidates are Manny Rollerson, Melanie Oldham, and Larry McDonald. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands who those individuals are, and we'll get into that at another date. But in Ward C, which has been vacated, thankfully, by the current council, I will tell you there are two candidates. And one of those candidates is one of the grifters that was asking the council to violate the charter, and that was Nicole Morellis, asking the council to break the law. And I want folks to know that going forward. And the other person that we have on there is a new individual, new resident here that's looking to help be a part of the new way forward, is Mr. Peoples. I have not met him, have no conversations with him, but I look forward to seeing what his ideas and vision are for the city. That said, I also want to thank the Main Street staff for coming out tonight and making their presentation about some of the ideas and plans they have for the city. But really, what's more important here is that the change is coming, the change is here. The city of Freeport is so ready for these changes, and we need residential development at all places in the city. And so I want to encourage everybody and inform everybody, Freeport is a huge value of investment. It has tons of value with all the waterfronts that no other city has. And don't believe that just because there's dysfunction and illegalities and corruption that has been the history of Freeport, that, listen, we've been cleaning up City Hall, and we're gonna clean up the rest of it, of the departments, and for that matter, our elected officials, so that we can move forward here. But that should not discourage anybody in believing that Freeport is not worth investing at all. And I can tell you, there are many developers that want to, by virtue of the fact of the developer that just came in here tonight. Did you think he was thinking, oh, he not once said, I better not invest in Freeport because you guys don't get along, or that you guys don't play patty cakes. I mean, no. These guys understand the difference of when the truth is being told. And so this is what I'll say. You know, I wanted to get into this whole situation here tonight when we're talking about the truth and the criticisms that I write. There's a saying, when they go low, you go high. Well, let me tell you what I say. When they go low, I give them the truth, because the truth really hurts. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
That was almost cut in half. I'm going to say thank you. Thank you all for showing up tonight, and those of you that have watched tonight and are still online. Thank you, because it really does mean a lot to us. I want to remind everybody that early voting started today. You know, not only do we have 2 seats to be filled up here, there's several in the county that'll affect us. So I encourage everybody that's registered to get out there and do your duty and vote. I'm happy to say that the stoplight on 2nd Street doesn't last 10 minutes or however long it used to last. It's back down to what we are used to, and you know, the older you get, you become more and more creature of habit. So it is a lot more beneficial. The stop sign on 4th Street with the flashing red lights looks amazing at nighttime. You know, I'm real big on right and wrong whenever I say something wrong. Tonight is no different. At the last regular council meeting, I had made a comment about the fact that my 7-year-old daughter was excited about going to the daddy-daughter dance. Okay, we did make it to the daddy-daughter dance and had a great time. There was a good turnout. Unfortunately, the next morning, my daughter comes out of the bedroom, says, this look on her face like only your daughter can give you, and she said, Daddy, I'm 9. Actually happened. She was hot that I said she was 7. So, I stand corrected. Dr. Kelly, what have you got for us tonight?
I can't top that.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to call a motion, I'm calling for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We got a motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.